All good? All right. And our next item is comments and questions from the public not related to the agenda. And if you are attending online, please feel free to just turn on your camera, or if you're on the phone, to simply start speaking. Okay, I don't see any. All right, we will continue on with item number 5, announcements and city manager's report. And I'll start with, on my right, with Tim.
Oh, shoot. Sorry, guys.
Did you say Tim?
Yep,
Oh, okay.
Counselor Bear.
That would be me. So,
This conference will now be recorded.
Sorry about that.
so I was able to attend the economic development meeting last week that Andrew Hayes attended from Eastern Real Estate, and he talked about their commitment to the University Mall and looking to engage with the community about the redevelopment there and what there could be in the future for it. There's a lot of interest in that property, and we talked about retail, the future of retail, the difference between retail there and in Williston and between downtown Burlington, and some safety issues. And I think it was a productive session. I was glad to be able to have him there, and I was glad to be able to be there as well. I also attended the Ped Bike Bridge design meeting last Thursday. Thank you for the Chipotle dinner. That was very nice. We appreciated that. And lots of good interaction with the community, talking about the aesthetics, the paths, and what the bridge, how it should function. And lots of ideas were bounced around. A lot of brainstorming, which was good. I want to thank the DPW in South Burlington for filling potholes on Dorset Street that I've been asking for. And so the ride is a lot smoother now, although some of them are going to get paved over anyway, right, when they end up repaving that. But it's good to fill them as you can. I wanted to talk a second about my trip to Brattleboro on Saturday. So Brattleboro Union High School had their 45th high school reunion for the class of 77 and class of 78 as well. I've gone down 3 times in the last 15 years for their for their every 5-year reunions, and I was able to meet with 2 friends that one of them I haven't seen in 49 years, and the other one I hadn't seen in 14 years. And I just want to stress the importance of keeping connections with people that you know from your childhood, because they're the only ones that knew you when you were a child compared to your parents, right? And if your parents are gone, it's important to have people that knew you then, because they can give you perspectives that you didn't have, and also they have some memories that you don't have, and they can really crack you up and show you, just really a good time. And so we had a nice lunch at the marina, which is on the river right there before it goes into the Connecticut River. And the reunion was on the banks of the Connecticut River on the New Hampshire side, and it was attended by about 100 people or so, and got to talk to a lot of people and discuss some interesting issues, including pensions, right, and people who are getting ready to retire and whether or not they have a pension, and if they do, and it's from the state of Vermont, what's the condition of that pension system. And so that was a really good night, and so I drove down and came back the same day. So that's all. And one more thing. I reported to Mr. Hoare, who's the head of the Public Works in Williston, the fact that once you cross the brand new bridge on Kimball Ave, which is a great bridge with a great bike ped path, the bikers, when they reach the other side into Williston, to reconnect to the street, literally there's a piece of asphalt this long to go from the bike path back onto the road. Otherwise, it's all gravel. So he said he would investigate that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's good. That's all I have.
Thank you. Very nice. You're enjoying your summer so far.
Last thing is that my car, because of that tailwind on Saturday, 20, 25 miles an hour out of the north, because my car is an electric hybrid and it's low slung, and I drove 61 miles an hour, which, as you saw on Facebook from the Energy Committee posting, the slower you drive, the higher your gas mileage. I was able to get 76 miles to the gallon on the way down. I got less coming back because I was going faster because I wanted to get home. And but it is a fact. If you drive your car at 63, it'll do a lot better than 72. So I proved it, I think, with my car. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, Councilor Coda.
Thank you, Councilmember. I had no idea you were a Brattleboro colonel.
I didn't. So here's the kicker: is
All right,
that
you can tell me about it
no,
later.
I only.
It's my turn. My turn. You've ceded your time.
I didn't walk with them because I left halfway through 8th grade. But I know a lot of the people. But I guess in the heart, I'm sort of a colonel.
Yeah. I also attended the economic development hearing and meeting. And it was great to hear about how the developer is considering different configurations given the bridge that we may finally get, and appreciating that possibility and that potential. Also attended the committee for the common area. Oh, I'm going to screw this up. I'm the liaison.
dogs.
Committee for Common Areas for Dogs.
Yes.
Boy, that's a mouthful. And great news, right? We're hopefully gonna fix the drainage later in July over at Farrell Park. Fix the fence. That's wonderful. And we're also gonna have an opening in Wheeler Park, hopefully in August. So, very exciting things happening in that committee, from my perspective.
Very nice. And our chair online, Helen Reilly.
Okay, thank you. Well, I went to my 50th college reunion, and I think as a result, I came home and had a horrible cold, which then turned into COVID. So my last week, a lot of things I couldn't get to. But prior to that, before I was sick, I did attend a BCA training because I missed the earlier one with the new machines. And I have to say, I'm very, very impressed with how they work and how automatic it is and how private it will be for the voter. So I think they're a great improvement. The Climate Action Task Force met, and that's about it. I'm getting better.
Thank you. Thank you. Senator Chittenden.
First of all, Chair Reilly, I hope you're feeling well. I know it's scary to have COVID. I have 4 things that I was going to list. I think 3 of you were with me as well at the firefighters promotion ceremony for Nick Perkov and Brad Titilio since our last meeting. Great little ceremony. It was great to see both those individuals get recognized. I did attend the CCRPC annual event, and I was happy to see that our representative, Chris Shaw, was elected to be the vice chair of the CCRPC again. So that's great news, I think, for South Burlington and for the entire region. Chris Shaw does a lot of great work for them. I also attended the first meeting of the airport director search that I was appointed to wearing a different hat, and I raised a few concerns about the process. I did share that with you, Councilor Reilly, and I believe that as of now they are going to revise the job posting, repost it, and then still invite or still consider the 3 applicants that were already received, as well as I heard informally that they were going to post in additional forums. Happy to report more on that as I hear it going forward. The last thing, and I've been a barking dog on this for about 8 years, but I find repetition often works. I attended a Lake Monsters game, and they have done some phenomenal things to that park. And there was a lot of empty space. I know money doesn't grow on trees, but I think a great thing to do for all of our volunteers on our committees and our staff here in South Burlington is to do one of those Lake Monsters night events. Again, I just think it's really important to recognize, appreciate, have a night out at the ballpark, and invite all. We can warn it as a super open meeting, but I just think it would be great to give everybody a night at the ballpark if that's something in the cards. Thanks.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Well, I'll just add on to say that, yes, I think that the promotion ceremony was actually quite moving. It brought tears to my eyes. I think that we all know that most of us do not climb up ladders to drag people out of burning buildings, and they do much more than that as well at our firehouse. So it's quite impressive to see these very committed, firefighters, and see them promoted as is, I think, very important to recognize their service. I just wanted to also acknowledge that today is the federal holiday of Juneteenth, and I think that as a council, it would be good for us just to think about it, how the city could acknowledge or recognize this holiday, which is a federal holiday. And so it will take some thought, but I think that it is something that is worthy of some discussion. So I just wanted to bring that up, and I wanted to say that it's an important moment in our history. We are, again, at a time where democracy is being challenged, and our commitment to democracy, which is a commitment to equal rights for all, in addition to the institutions that and the rules that ensure that our democracy can continue. And democracy is fragile. I tell my students that always. It's something that we have to recommit to every day. And I think that today is one of those days when we should be remembering that this country had a very long birthing process, and it's still working towards that more perfect union for equal rights for all. So I just wanted us to have a broader discussion at some point, if you all are agreeable to that. Great. Yes, and the new tabulators, fantastic. I look forward to seeing them in use, and I want to thank Donna Kinville, as always, who we'll hear from later, for really spearheading the whole elections process, which is integral, again, to our functioning democracy. And her attention to detail is exceptional. So she is the right woman for the job, and I'm very grateful. I know we all are. So with not more ado, I won't recount all of my pleasant days of the past week. I will turn it over to City Manager here, Jessie Baker.
Thanks. So I only have a few updates for you tonight. I want to give you a heads up that we are working with some of our regional partners on the potential of starting a communications union district in Chittenden County. Many of our colleagues across the state have done that as the funding comes in to do the broadband expansion. That's the governmental tool that's being used to receive those grant monies. Originally, Chittenden County had been not necessarily discouraged, but told that we really didn't need one because of our public sector or our private sector coverage. We now think that for those to run the fiber in the last house, it may be something that's useful. So we are exploring that for the November ballot. It would be multiple towns all at the same time, and not necessarily any direct financial contribution from us. So just want to give you a heads up on that. More to come on that. Want to let you know that our wonderful zoning administrator, Delilah Hall, is leaving us this week. She moved to Vermont initially to live closer to her husband, who lives in southern Vermont. So she is taking a job down in southern Vermont to be closer to him. She has been just an amazing part of our team, and we'll be very sad to lose her. So if you know of anyone interested in being a zoning administrator, please let us know. Just a reminder that Sun Common will be on site in the next couple of weeks with scaffolding out front to replace the panels and the fixtures on the roof. So City Hall will look a little different for the time being, but we are certainly open and ready for business. We have a new Summer Parks Patrol employee, Devontae Jackson. I understand that this is a program that was on hold for a little bit, but has been reinstated through the police department, bringing on young people to help with quality of life issues in our parks. People may remember Mr. Jackson as a Burlington High School graduate. He just finished his first year at UVM, and we are intrigued by his interest in becoming a police officer for us someday. He was apparently a very big basketball star, so folks may remember him from that. And then finally, our meeting schedule is a little different over the next couple of weeks, so I just wanted to remind the council that on Wednesday we have our steering committee meeting with the school board. On the next meeting will be July 11th, which will be our policies and strategies retreat. We will be feeding you dinner and making that night a little more retreaty. It will be in the senior center. You'll have materials for that meeting to review by July 1st, so we're going to try and get that to you ahead of time so you have some time, 'cause it is a holiday weekend. And then we'll back to our regular scheduled meetings on July 18th.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Yep. And just a heads up on this upcoming steering committee meeting, I have received a message from a concerned parent who, on behalf of parents at Orchard and Central School, they are very eager to know what the city is going to do to ensure that their children are in classrooms and not crowded classrooms. As we know, the enrollments are very high compared to the space at Central and Orchard. So I invited her to communicate back to this group of parents that Wednesday night we're going to be discussing the impact fee, and so we might have some people in the audience that night. So just a heads up for you all to think about that too. All right. So we are now to number 6, which is the consent agenda, which is our time to consider and sign the disbursements. We pay our bills here in South Burlington, to receive the May financials. We're coming upon the end of our fiscal year. The third item is to approve an updated resolution on the Public Art Committee to expand its composition, where there will be a quorum of 4 and 3 non-voting members. Award of construction contract for Burlington Country Club Stormwater Project is the 4th item, and that's 4-4. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move approval as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Very good. Is there any discussion? Okay, just noting the maintenance cost of HVAC was pretty high. I just was struck by that, as well as vehicle maintenance. Those were the two big ticket items that got over 200%. So I don't know if there's any.
Yeah, so part of the reason for that is this building, it was, forecasted out well before we moved in. We've also gotten some different opinions around how often we change our filters. And so we went from doing it once a year to what's recommended of doing it twice a year. So that's one of the reasons. The price of filters has also gone up. And there's also some lines related to 575 Dorset Street, 577 Dorset Street, that we will receive a reimbursement from. So that will balance out some of those costs.
Great.
Yeah.
I did see that fueling costs really were 104% or something, so that, or 108%, maybe something like that. So
Yeah.
that was,
We'll still be over budget, but
yeah, but not, okay. Very good. We are then going to ask if everybody is in approval. So all in favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
And I didn't hear any opposed. I heard all unanimously passed the consent agenda. So number 7, and now we're going to hear from our city clerk, Donna Kinville. She would like us to consider approving the mailing of ballots to all active non-challenged voters for the November election. So Donna.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for allowing me to come tonight. As you know, in the past, on the November elections, the state has allowed us to put our justices of the peace, which is a local item, as well as any other ballot item the city had, to be placed on their ballot at no cost to the city. And so it made it nice and neat. And then just this last session, or the end of last, there was a bill passed called S-15, which allowed the Secretary of State's office to mail a ballot to every active, non-challenged voter in the state of Vermont. And therefore, in order for us to continue to put our JPs and local ballot items, on the ballots, it requires a vote of this council authorizing the mailing of ballots to all active, non-challenged voters for the November 9th, 2022 election. This will greatly reduce our cost of having to create a separate ballot. And then it comes the question of confusion for the voters, because they're going to get a ballot from the state, but then they may get a local ballot from us, but only those people that requested it. So it makes a lot of sense to make sure we jump on to that state ballot.
Nice.
Definitely will be cost savings to the city.
So it'll be all on one sheet, front and back?
Yep. Typically, they put our questions on the back side of the ballot.
Nice.
I'll make that motion now if you'd like.
Please do.
So I move that the city council authorize the mailing of ballots to all active, non-challenged voters for the November 9th? Oh, no, 8th, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of August. The November 8th, 2022 election, sorry.
Second.
Very good, very good. And
Yeah, I have a question.
yes, please, Helen.
So Donna, what will happen this year is the justices of the peace will go on. If we have, let's say we have an item, a bonding item or something, can that be added also at no cost?
Yes, they can. There is a due date of mid-August, I believe, that the state needs to get
Okay.
it to them so they can place the wording on the ballot.
Yeah, so council will have,
Mid-August for the November ballot. Wow.
Because they
Okay.
have to print out for the whole state and then they mail them out the end of September. So
So they come out from Montpelier, the
and
ballots?
Is this an annual event? I mean, have they decided to do it every year and we need to pass this kind of resolution annually, or is it
biannually.
depend on what they do?
So be biannually, so because Justice of the Peace are a local item,
Oh, right.
but they're every November, every other November in the even years. So this would become a common resolution that we'll be asking the council to pass every 2 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Because we'll be doing this kind of balloting every 2 years now? Is
Right,
that-
so the November ballot is in every even number year,
Yeah.
as well as that's when the Justices of the Peace are elected as well.
Is this a state law?
Yep.
Okay, very good to know for the voters too. Very good. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? of the
Aye.
motion?
Aye.
Aye.
That passed unanimously too.
Good, so I will let the Secretary of State's office know, so they'll pencil us in and make sure they know what is going on, and they will keep us in touch.
Thank you very much, Donna. All right, and you stay right where you are because we are receiving the warrant for unlicensed dogs and cats, and we need to discuss enforcement, which is
Yes, so this is a requirement that I present to the council every year after May 30th, the list of all unlicensed animals in the city, which in that case in South Burlington is dogs and cats. So before you is a list of dogs and cats that are not registered as of last Thursday, I believe. And it's up to we've done everything on our end that we kind of can do. We've advertised on Front Porch Forum, we send out emails, we posted in the other paper. We've done everything we can to try and reach these residents. So it is my duty to report it to the council, the list, and then it is the council's decision what they want to do with it. In the past, we have had the police department send out a letter to all these unlicensed dogs and cats and let them know that. And it's amazing the results you get when someone gets a letter from the police department. So we actually had, after we did it last August, which is a little bit late because of COVID, so everything got kind of backed up, we had 326 total last year that weren't registered, and we had over 100 renew that were not registered before. So we got a good chunk of them that finally did come forth and register their pets.
Oh, that sounds, yes, please, Matt.
And for those that didn't, the pet could have died or people could have moved away, right? Is that the other
Or
alternative?
They could have,
just ignored
or
it?
they could just not register their dog or cat.
Right.
Any of the above.
Yeah, please, yes, Tim.
So last year you said that that had the police department send out notes, right? And has that happened yet?
No, because I don't have that authority to do that. That's why I'm reporting to you.
Oh, that's one
And
thing
then,
that we could ask you to do.
We actually end up sending the letter out on behalf of the police department, but yeah.
But the letterhead, isn't that what you did
Yep,
last year? The
so
letterhead, yeah.
the police department authorized, Officer Burke authorized the letter last year, approved of it. So,
So that yielded pretty well.
yeah.
I'd like to try that again if we could.
Yeah,
That's what you're asking, right?
yeah, I think that makes sense. Does it make sense to all of us?
Just to be clear, this is exactly what we did last year. We're just sending the letter. We're not doing anything more with regards to tracking these dogs and cats down.
Correct.
Great. So-
That's up to the council to decide if they want to move further than that.
So this warrant that's in our packet, we can leave untouched.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Helen, do you have any? No?
Do we need a motion, or are we?
I think we need a motion to authorize our city clerk to contact the police department.
I
right?
would make that motion for.
I'd second that.
To send out
To
these
send out.
these
He
notices
seconded before I got to the end of the
to,
sentence.
I just have to say there are pages and pages and pages of names here, and I didn't count because it was, but many people, and we hope to hear back from some of them. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 That again is unanimous. All right, very good. All right, we see some people in the audience. We're a little bit early. 20 more minutes till time on our agenda. Should,
We can start.
We
It's not
start?
a public hearing yet. Thank you, Donna.
excellent, thank you.
Can I say two things about interviews before
Of
we start?
course.
So, two things, one for the council, one for community members. So for the council, you have a spreadsheet of all of the 41 folks who have applied with a little tickler column if you would like to keep notes for yourself over the course of the conversation. Second is to those who are applying to be on committees. We will be, the council will be meeting in executive session tonight and making determinations. We will be sending you a letter this week about their decisions, and then they will be ratifying the list of appointments at their July 11th council meeting. So we will not, you don't need to stick around tonight, late into the evening to find out. We will be contacting you this week. And with that, Councilor Emery, go for it.
All right, very good. So you'll have to help me along here. First on our list is affordable housing, and we have Tom Getz, Sandra Dooley, and Emily Holt-Goslin. I don't know if they are online or not.
So
I don't
Tom
see
Getz
them.
appears to be online,
Mhm.
and
Sandra Dooley and Emily Holt-Goslin.
Sandy Dooley is not yet, and Emily is. So Emily and Tom Getz, if you want to turn your cameras on.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Well, welcome. We're glad to see you online and appreciate, as always, the number of people who apply for our committees. It's I believe that it's truly of benefit to our city. So I am just going to find my page here. Okay, there we go. All right. So, Mr. Getz, we'll start with you since you're at the head of our list. And if you could just tell us in a few sentences, feel free to expand if you'd like to, about your reasons for applying for the Affordable Housing Committee.
Hi, thank you for having me on tonight. Yeah, I said my name's Tom Getz. I've been a South Burlington resident for about 7 years now, and I am interested in joining the Affordable Housing Committee just to try to give back a little bit in an area that I have a lot of experience professionally. I first got experience working with the Affordable Housing Committee really in depth over the past year. My company, Summit Properties, has a 94-unit affordable housing development that is moving forward in South Burlington, and in working with the committee and city council, sort of going through the long process of all the permitting and financing aspects. I got to know some folks on the committee well, and it seemed like a great opportunity to potentially give back in some of the areas that I really have experience, which is, our company, Summit Properties. We are developers and managers of affordable housing in Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, but we're South Burlington based. And as CEO, I lead all the new development of affordable housing opportunities for our company. And so I've had a great opportunity, not just in South Burlington, but in cities around New England, but mostly Vermont, New Hampshire, to see how the affordable housing development process works in different cities, and really kind of understand the challenges between the permitting, financing, construction, and then operations, because we also manage about 1,500 apartments across those 3 states. So kind of have seen it all, and hope that my perspective can add some a different perspective to the committee. So happy to answer any questions.
Great, great. Any questions from my colleagues here? He's clearly qualified and experienced. Yeah, Matt.
Last time we saw you, Tom, we signed a letter helping you get a grant. Can you give us a status update on that process?
Yes, so this is for the O'Brien Farm community. I mentioned it briefly a bit ago. This is 94 units of mixed income housing at the hillside at O'Brien Farm community. It was, I think, it may have been January the last time. Oh no, it was a little. We've been before the city council a couple times on this, but at this point we have received all of the large funding resources. This is over a $25 million development, and we've received a allocation of tax credits from the Vermont Housing Finance Agency that it's going to bring about 13 million of equity to the project. We've received an ARPA award of about 4.8 million from the Vermont Housing Conservation Board, and we're still waiting on our CDBG, our $1 million block grant application. So financing has all come along. Those major, very competitive resources have all been either awarded or expected to be soon. And our goal is to be in the ground this fall. Costs are rapidly rising and have continued. So the next 2 months, we're in the process now that we've gotten our major awards, we're in the process of finalizing the construction bids. And that's going to tell us whether, with all of the resources we've been allocated, with interest rates where they are, whether we've made it or we have a gap and need to, fill that gap with an additional source. So we're hoping that we can make it work, but it is a wild environment right now to be putting together any sort of budgets. So this project will go. The question is only whether it's going to happen this fall or whether more resources will be necessary, and it needs to push back a few months.
Great. Thank you, Tom.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Getz?
Thank you.
All right, Helen. Yes.
Can you conceive of a situation where your service on the Affordable Housing Committee would constitute a conflict of interest, since your company builds affordable housing? And how would you handle that?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I know like Patrick O'Brien is on the committee, and not exclusively affordable housing, but as a developer, I would see that I would recuse myself if the committee was being asked to weigh in on a specific project. I don't think that it would be probably appropriate for me to give a thumbs up or thumbs down to another developer. But I think on policy and in conversation issues, that's where I can add a lot of value. But I probably would not weigh in on the merits of a specific project, at least on behalf of the committee.
Thank you.
I have a question. So,
Yes, please.
Tom, have you attended any of their meetings before?
I have, yeah. I've attended, I believe, 3 of their meetings as a presenter for this project. So for the South Burlington O'Brien Farm project.
And so you know approximately what time of day they meet, and that doesn't conflict with your schedule unless you're supposed to talk to them about your project?
Right. Yeah, no, that works for me. Yeah. I can pretty flexible with the schedule.
Very good.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. And
Thank you all.
you can hang
Appreciate
on, or you can feel free to enjoy this pleasant evening.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it all.
Yeah, thank you. All right, and since we're online, I'll continue with Emily Holt-Goslin. And thank you, too, for applying. And you are applying to 2 committees, the Affordable Housing Committee and the Energy Committee. Is that still the case?
Yes.
Oh, great. So if you could perhaps speak to both, and we will kind of parse through and just the question, what led you to apply to these 2 committees?
Absolutely. So I'm excited to be here. Definitely a little intimidated, but I've lived in South Burlington for probably like 17 years at this point, and I'm really at the point where I want to just become a little more involved within my community, especially. I think probably like a lot of people, I've had a big feeling of like, am I doing enough? How can I get more involved? So I learned about the committee through the Front Porch Forum, or like saw the openings through the Front Porch Forum, and thought that that would be just a really amazing way to get involved, particularly as someone who can't really afford to buy a house in my own community where like my parents live and siblings live. And in terms of energy efficiency, knowing that that is a really important thing to be focusing on, particularly during the next 10-ish years or so. So just generally really interested in either committee. I don't have a lot of experience with this sort of stuff, but I feel like it's also one of those things where I'm like, how do I get the experience without doing the thing if I'm not qualified to do the thing? So a little ambitious here, but I'm really excited about these sort of things. Even just hearing from Tom so far, it's really cool to potentially be surrounded by people who have been doing this for a while and the potential to learn from you all. And I have every intention of hopefully staying in Vermont for a long time, specifically South Burlington. So I'd love to get involved sooner than later. And I think that's kind of all I got. So
Great.
question.
What role do you typically play on a committee structure? If you've served in a committee structure, you do have experience serving as a chairperson for your local recovery group. You've taken minutes. You've coordinated with subcommittees, all kinds of unexpected bumps in the road that you've had to navigate. So beyond minute taking, what do you see in terms of your strengths that you would bring to that kind of discussion, which can get technical too, but it doesn't always take technical expertise. It can also take, big picture kind of people.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. The technical aspects, I'm sure I could brush up on a little bit. Again, I'm really eager to learn more about this. I've reached out to a couple of people who have been really supportive in like offering me connection to the previous minutes and other people who have been involved in affordable housing committees specifically. I definitely would say I have a bigger picture kind of perspective. A lot of the work that I do personally is from an intersectional lens as well. And as I mentioned, also like a community aspect. So I really deeply believe like it is up to us communities to look out for one another and offer mutual support where we can. So a lot of my interest kind of stems from that, of wanting to determine, I guess, specifically in terms of different projects or things that the housing committee or the energy committee would want to focus on, and seeing that from like a larger lens. If only because I have more to learn about like the nitty gritty aspects of it.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Other questions?
Yeah.
Mr.
Hi,
Barrett.
Emily. This is Tim. Can you relate to us roughly some of your challenges you've had with finding housing in South Burlington, or since you came to Vermont, or?
Yeah. So my family moved here when how old was I? I don't know, 7th grade or so. And we've had to rent houses consecutively for up until I think last year, actually. So it's been many, many years where my parents struggled to find something affordable that would accommodate. I have a big family, which since then, many of my siblings have like moved off. But particularly just being able to find somewhere that was, under $500,000 was a huge challenge. And so I have a lot of personal connection with that, of seeing my parents who have two like pretty stable, good jobs, most people would say, and still having a lot of trouble finding something in South Burlington, especially. We've been here for so long and wanted to stay here. I went to school here. My siblings did as well. And so just seeing the financial struggle aspect of it, and then like wanting to do the best, and all of that was really just hard to witness as a child. And then personally as well, I still live with them. So that's the reality of like many people my age too, which is something that done a lot of personal work on like accepting that, and also feeling really grateful for that opportunity too, but realizing so many of my friends, people around my age, are simply unable to find housing at all. I have a couple of friends who are couch surfing or living in their car right now. And so I think it's very apparent that it is a pervasive issue within not just South Burlington, but the place. And if I could potentially help to contribute some sort of improvement in that area, it would be really meaningful for me. So
Thank you.
Good. Anything else? You got applause in the audience. Anybody else like to ask? All right. Thank you so much, Emily. I'm really glad that you applied, and I agree that people of your generation, it's time for you to have a platform and really, that voice. We need to hear from you. So thank you.
Are we going to hear about her interest in the Energy Committee as well?
She said that we could certainly hear more, but she did talk about her interest in sustainable energy. But go ahead. You can, if you have more to add about that, Emily.
I don't. Again, it's something, I mean, to be like totally transparent, I don't have a wealth of knowledge about that sort of stuff. Again, it's something that I know is very important. And I mean, of course, I have like rudimentary understanding of the importance of energy conservation and making things for more sustainable long term. But in general, a little selfishly, I feel like it would just be really amazing to be working with people who have a lot of this knowledge, who I can learn from, and then like implement that information. Like I said, I'm a pretty quick learner and like to soak up that kind of stuff. But I am definitely a little more involved and interested in the Affordable Housing Committee. So,
So that's your first choice. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Emily, I just want to say that people have a lot to learn from you and your perspective. And when you talk about the importance of mutual support, I think that is a cultural value that needs to be put at the forefront. So I think you would bring a lot to either of the committees. So I want you to feel that you are not coming here empty-handed for the city. All right?
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sandy Dooley, if you would come to the podium, and feel free to remove your mask if you're more comfortable speaking without it. This is again for the Affordable Housing Committee.
Before does it need to be bright green? Ah, got it. Before I start, I just want to say that I spent most of the afternoon watching the June 6th meeting, and I'm just thrilled with all the applicants.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I hope you have positions for all of them. Even having someone apply who hasn't quite moved here yet was something new, at least to me. As I indicated on my application, similar to John Simpson, I've been involved in the city's work on affordable housing since 2012, when the City Council created a task force on affordable housing, and we produced the Path to Affordability report. Then there were ad hoc groups that worked on the inclusionary zoning for city center and establishment of a housing trust fund. I've been vice chair and secretary of the Affordable Housing Committee since 2016. Last year we got 3 new members, and we have we have 3 sort of long-termers, and then we had 3 new last year, and I think it was 4 new the year before. So we are a real mixture of mostly people that have 2 years or less, and then us people that have some institutional memory. And then we just learned that Minel Sarfu-Adu, who has been our trailblazing student member, is not applying for reappointment, but we celebrated her last week. And Patrick O'Brien is in the process of resigning. So we're going to have some more new members. It's been I think we work great together, and it's been great to have new voices and perspectives. In terms of why I want to continue, I really would like to follow through on the ARPA RFP for the $1 million. We've been working, last week we sort of finalized what we're sending to you folks for your retreat for the policy priorities and strategies for FY23, and they involve incentivizing density, trying to find ways to incentivize and sort of find ways in which our rules make development more costly and change those if they seem amenable to, of course, would have to go through the Planning Commission. Promoting redevelopment. We want to contribute to the updating of the comprehensive plan. And one thing I learned about watching the interviews was that there's $1 million in the House, in the legislative bill. John Kalaki talked about this for one single community to work on developing, I guess, maybe new or innovative housing opportunities. I guess John and Thomas and Jesse are working on that, but I'm sure the Affordable Housing Committee would be happy to assist in that if that seemed helpful. So thank you for all you do, and thank you for considering my application, and I'm open for questions.
You come with a wealth of experience and expertise too, Sandy. So thank you for your willingness to continue, because we know you so well. You might not be peppered with questions, but I will turn left and right and in front of me to see if there are any questions for Sandy.
I just have a question actually for Jesse. With the two retirees, if you will, or resignations that Sandy referenced, is that included in the needed number of 4, or is it really 6?
It is included. So the three open spaces included Manel's, and the 1 year remaining is Patrick's. We've added that since your last meeting when we received news of his resignation.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and again, take advantage of the sunshine unless you wish to stay with us, and you're welcome to do that as well. Yeah. Very good. So that concludes our interviews for the Affordable Housing Committee. Next committee is the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, and we should have 3 people here tonight for that. Ann Ellen Mason, Sean Soper, and Doug Goodman. And
so Ann is online.
All right.
As is Doug. Sean is a Williston firefighter and may not be able to join us tonight.
Okay.
But Doug Goodman and Ann Mason, if you can both turn your cameras on.
Greetings.
Start with Doug.
All right. While Ann's turning on her camera, Doug, if that's all right, we'll proceed with you. And thank you so much for applying for the Bike and Pedestrian Committee. And please tell us a little bit about why you have applied. What led you to do so?
Thank you for the opportunity to come and present this evening. I'm a pretty active bicyclist, and I've been involved over the last year a little bit more with local bicycle policy. I was involved with the Austin Drive Queen City Park scoping study with the CCRPC, and I was on that committee with Tim Barrett, and we're trying to raise issues of the best way to sort of access this corner of South Burlington and into Burlington. I live in Queen City Park, so part of my interest is representing my neighborhood in access issues with bikes and pedestrians. And I've also been a little bit involved with the advisory lanes on Queen City Park Road. So I think my interest is really in looking at the things that are being worked on with trying to create bicycle and pedestrian connectivity between South Burlington and the bigger region, and trying to work with helping to sort of find some direction in that. And one of the previous people spoke about their strengths on a committee. And I think in this situation, I'd say my own strength is I'm pretty good at doing a deep dive into research and looking at the way things connect and trying to get a good understanding of I think policy and the way, and when I say policy, I mean what's appropriate and how, for example, the mud cud relates to placing bike infrastructure on the roadways. And one thing, I was at the meeting last week where they were talking about visioning the bike pedestrian bridge over 89, and I thought that was a really interesting session, but there were a lot of questions that were raised by a number of people, and I was really interested in some of that and the process of how it is, I guess, working towards the materialization of that project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be, I think, a really good project, and it will bring a lot, I believe, of connectivity that I think you spoke to. And in your narrative of well, you talk about commuting in addition to recreational cycling. So I think that is something that I would hope to see, and that the bike and ped bridge over I-89 would help accomplish. Any questions for Mr. Goodman?
I do have one.
Yes, Councilor Chitman.
So as an avid bicyclist, I'm curious. I'm personally am seeing more and more Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes zooming around town. Do you have any thoughts on it, which is great? My daughter has one and it's fabulous. But as you're using the paths, do you have any thoughts on how friendly, or how do we need new signage? Are there anything that comes to mind as you're seeing these e-bikes zooming up hills and otherwise?
I think they're a fabulous device for getting people outside, but the challenge to me as a longtime bicyclist is there's a lot of people who are, well, frankly, pretty dangerous. You know, there's a lot of people who are going really fast on them, and they don't have a sense of their impact on the rest of the road users. And I want to say vulnerable road users, because when you talk about cars relating to bikes and pedestrians, the bikes and pedestrians are vulnerable road users, and an e-bike is a vulnerable road user, but sort of in almost a gray area, because they're sort of between a motorcycle and a bicycle. And I think that people don't really have a sense of their personal risk. The number of people you see, like today we were biking up the trail in Burlington, the number of people on e-bikes that weren't wearing helmets, and they're going 20 or 25 miles an hour. So I think when you mention signage, I find that really difficult, because I was bicycling in New York City last week, and there's people on a wide range of I want to say devices, because some of them look like Vespas that are moving pretty quickly, but they're using the bike paths that are specifically designed for no electric vehicles. So it's a big challenge. I didn't really answer the question, but there's a lot there.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Goodman? Helen, do you have any questions for Mr. Goodman?
I just remind me, have you been to any of the committee meetings?
I've been to one or two meetings, and I was also at the meeting where they're talking about the connection on Spear Street between Swift and the bike path by the Department of Agriculture, and that. So I've been to a couple, and yes.
So you're aware of when they meet, and that time commitment is something you're able to make?
Yes, I will do that.
And I appreciate, I just got an e-bike, and I appreciate your comments on how it is sort of a different experience, and maybe it's not signage, maybe it's just education of everyone about how it really is kind of different.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And I don't know if you were here originally, but our city manager said that there would be a discussion and potentially a decision tonight, but it will be well into the late evening hour. And so that would be communicated, our decision would be communicated to all the applicants within the next 1 or 2 weeks. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for applying. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Megan.
Yeah. And next is Anne Ellen Mason. There
She
she's-
is online. Where I can see her. Oh, here she is.
Hi,
I hear you.
can you guys hear me? I know, I don't see my name up on the,
It's just showing the active cameras. There you are.
oh,
There.
thank you.
There you are.
Sorry about that. I just hopped out of the shower. But you can see me?
Well, you see us in all our glory too. I have to say that I am.
Yes.
Yes. We don't.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. And thank
You
you for
too.
your interest. And we are eager to hear about what led you to apply to the Bike and Ped Committee.
So interesting. I was just listening to Doug. I'm a new e-bike purchaser. I've been a cyclist, and I want to make sure I phrase that right. Kind of a casual cyclist for several years now. I'm not a racer or anything like that, but certainly have covered all of Burlington and or in the local areas. I've also had the great gift and luxury of traveling a lot overseas lately, doing bike trips. I've been to Portugal and Holland and Germany, and just kind of hoping to bring to the table some of that experience of, and a couple of those trips were on e-bikes and a couple of them were just on regular bikes. And my desire to join this committee and to be proactive in this environment is to contribute some of that knowledge I've brought with me back from overseas and all that I've experienced on proper bike trails and, or, you know, countries more conditioned to using bicycle as a mode of transportation. So as I said, I just bought an e-bike. I had a knee replacement last year and I just thought that I would prefer to upgrade to an e-bike. And I
You have a
can't
helmet
express.
too?
Oh yeah. Oh, I
Okay,
don't ride a
good.
bike without a helmet. No. So that leads me to another thing. So I can't express the ease and the comfort and the amount of miles I've covered with the e-bike already. And I just had it a few, like a little over a month now. But everything from, you know, going to the grocery store to going to appointments to, I'm trying to ride it unless I have to bring somebody else in my car, like for my work. So I'd love to spread that joy of commuting on my e-bike and utilizing the roads around here for safe bike travel. So really that's my main interest is safe bike travel, and the more safe we get, possibly the more people will get biking for not just exercise and you know, for fun, but for a means of transportation. So, and yes, I'm a diehard bike helmet user, and I know Doug was mentioning that, you know, sometimes he sees people without bike helmets on e-bikes or whatever, but as frustrating as it is, I've seen people without helmets in all sorts of different scenarios, and often I see something that's very troubling to me is I see bicyclist parents biking with their small children. Their children have their helmets on and the adults don't.
Yeah.
And that's always something I want to kind of, you know, stop and say, you know, it's just, we're role models for our children and bike safety. And I really encourage people to wear their bike helmet. I just, it's like wearing a seatbelt to me. I can't get on a bike without a helmet on. And thankfully my children have said, my adult children have said the same. So anyway, that's my goal, is to help and encourage bike safety, bike routes, for all sorts of not just recreation, but for commuting and getting away from use of cars. And it's really pleasurable on my e-bike. I can do it really well. So.
Great. Yeah. So it's not just
my goal.
recreational, because going to the grocery store is a very practical use of the bike.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
I have a
And
question.
that can be done on e-bikes or not anything, but just, you know, again, my European travel, I've seen roads that really accommodate bikers. And I was just actually in Denver visiting my daughter, and they had a beautiful bike lane, you know, that was very well established and very well marked. And I know that's not always easy with the spacing in our roads and all that, but I really feel like the safer the roads. I have a lot of friends might say, oh, I won't go down that road because it's so unsafe, or the cars go by so fast, and I'd love to be part of a committee or organization that helps kind of figure out ways to get our roads safer, especially in Vermont for bike travel.
Yeah, and coming from Laurel Hill to get to the grocery store, you're crossing Route 7. So you know, just like Mr. Goodman, Doug Goodman, who's in Queen City Park, you are very familiar with that. It's a harrowing road to navigate as a cyclist.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even to get to the bike path, I have to cross, you know, at that main intersection, and it's very nerve-wracking. I have never had an altercation, thank goodness, but I can see why people who are not as friendly with bike use might get, you know, much more nervous and just disregard bike use for commuting or travel or recreation or all of that above, unless we have safer roads and systems in place.
Great. Councilor Barrett has a question for you, Ann.
Hi, Ann. This is Tim. Are you one of those really bad e-bike gang people that rides 30 miles an hour on the bike paths? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No,
So here's
I
the
am
question.
not.
Are you finding that people your age are engaging in e-bikes with greater frequency, like your friends are having greater interest in buying them because it enables them to bike farther and longer and do things they couldn't do before? Because I've noticed that, you know, with some of the bikes, like the Rad Wagon, for example, you know, you can put two little kids on the back and the parents are, you know, ferrying them to daycare or to school. But there's also a large older population that's getting back into biking that couldn't bike before because, you know, of knee problems or other joint problems. And the addition of the electric motor just makes it easier. So there's another whole population that's getting back into biking. And I think that the e-bike is going to be predominant in a lot of ways on all of our paths and on our streets as well. So it's an important perspective to have for this new segment. It used to be a niche. Now it's growing into a whole new market segment for biking. So.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, you hit on several topics where, you know, knee replacement last year, gas prices, you know, there's a lot driving, certainly myself, who loves to travel by bike, to moving towards buying an e-bike. And for better or for worse, the cost might be a problem for some people because they are not inexpensive. You know, neither are, you know, higher end road bikes, but not everybody drives those either. So people kind of run in the middle of a you know, just a around town bike. I've got all of the above, but I think that, you know, again, my point being here is I think that what I would like to see is just kind of continue to spread the word about e-bikes. And, you know, they're not electric, they are just battery assisted. So you're still pedaling, I don't know if anyone has used them or how much, but you're still really working, but you have that kind of assist, especially up the big hills. And in Vermont, that's a game changer for me because now I can literally go anywhere. So I do have friends in my biking buddies, my friends that have an e-bike, but a lot of them, it's a little bit more of a cost issue. But when we weigh the prices of $5 a gallon versus, you know, riding an e-bike and so you just get so much out of it. You get, even if it's not an e-bike, but you get, even if it's a bike, you get exercise, you get, you know, you save gas, you're motivated, you're moving, you're staying healthy. So again, leads me to really be part of this committee and encourage safe biking and pedestrian routes for South Burlington, all around, because I really believe that we need to go in that direction. Sorry. Goodness.
Can I anticipate Helen's question and ask if you are aware of the meeting times and the time commitment altogether?
So the meeting times, I believe, once a month. Did I read that right?
I believe so.
Yeah, once a month, and I can't recall the times right now off the top of my head, but I do know it's once a month.
You familiarized yourself. Have you attended any of their meetings?
Yes. I have not yet. No.
Okay.
No, not yet.
Okay.
I have a question. You mentioned a couple times that, you're really interested and you think that kind of education is needed and outreach. And I'm curious, do you have any particular work experiences or, I don't know, abilities that would lend itself to coming up with some ideas about that? I mean, I think go ahead.
Yeah, my work history is in healthcare. I was at the hospital for 23 years as a medical assistant, and currently I have a business working with elderly people. So to answer your question, no, I do not have that type of experience, but I consider myself, and I keep reiterating the European travel and really taking in all of what they've done in their infrastructure to create safe bike travel and stuff is something that I was hoping to bring to the table and help kind of think tank safe routes and encouragements and education in the population.
One last question. It is the pedestrian and bike.
Yes.
So do you have some thoughts about the pedestrian part of it, or is your focus, are you a walker or are you a biker? And that's really where your experience and thinking lies.
Yeah, I am certainly both. I've always been both. I lived downtown in Burlington for 13 years and used the bike path and the walking path that way. And now I'm in South Burlington and I have access to the bike path around Laurel Hill and stuff. So I certainly do am a pedestrian, and I think, creating, I think in my mind, I think more about the biking piece, but creating a symbiotic relationship between the pedestrians and the biking, which I experience a lot on the bike path, which is you have the pedestrians and then you have the bikers. So kind of coming up and tanking ideas to keep the pedestrians safe and the bikers safe and to keep the speed downs and the e-bikes and stuff. So, and to also answer your question, any sort of commuting that doesn't have to rely on a petrol vehicle is something that I'm very interested in. So whether it's pedestrian and walking or whether it's cycling, keeping all of that safe and trying to move away from, vehicle use if you can. I have a vehicle and I ride a vehicle when I need to, of course, but just really like to create our community and move away from some of that and educate people on walking or biking.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much, Anne. I think that those are all the questions, and thank you very much for answering them so well.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time and your willingness to take on more.
Thank you.
Very good. So next we have our City Charter Committee, and Donna Kimball is here. She is our sole applicant, and I'll be the liaison. That was my original city committee, so I'm excited.
Can I just make sure that Sean Soper is not here?
Oh, yes, I meant to ask you that.
No. There is somebody who is called in online, so we don't know who you are. Can you identify yourself so we can call on you when the time is right? Somebody calling in? Right. Well, we shall see when we get there. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I meant to actually ask you, and then it dropped my mind. All right. Donna.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi again. So I am reapplying for the reappointment to this charter committee when my term expires this July. I've been on the charter committee since 2010. I think as a city clerk, I have a unique skill set to bring. I'm knowledgeable about the city charter, and I also believe I can look at the charter from two different angles. As a citizen, I know what works and what doesn't, or works for me. And then as a city clerk, I also have the ability to see how it impacts the city on some change. I have been attending the meetings. I have attended two so far on the directive that the council has passed on to the charter committee, and the discussion on increasing city councilors. Do we vote for these city councilors by district or ward, whatever you want to call them? Are they at large? And so I can understand from the election standpoint how all that may work and fit in the end results on a number of different ways of cost and confusion for the voters possibly or not. And so I think I bring a unique perspective to the committee for that. I guess that's really short and sweet. But that's why I really want to continue on with the charter committee and see this current directive from the council through.
Great. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? You are a known quantity. Oh, is
Thank
there a
you.
question? Oh, is this the thank you? Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you. And we'll sweat this one out, Donna, but as always, you simplify instead of complicate. You make it a pleasure. All right. Our next committee is the Common Area for Dogs.
No, we interviewed all those last time.
You are correct. Our next one is the DRB. Thank you.
So Dan is
Dan
here.
Albrecht, Charles Johnston, Don Philibert, Arvid Dahlstrom, and Michael Biama.
We interviewed Rick last time.
All right.
We interviewed him.
All right. Very good.
He is here if you want to talk to him again.
All right. Very good. So, Dan, we'll start with you. And thank you for asking to re-up. That's always a good sign.
Sure. So yeah, Dan Albrecht, vice chair of the DRB. I don't know how that happened, but so yeah, I've been on a year now. I think I've made every meeting. Maybe missed one. It's been a lot of fun. Be on the other side of the table as somebody who's written staff reports before, both in my role at Chittenden County Regional Planning Committee, pinch hitting for the city and pinch hitting for the town of Shelburne. So, yeah, it's been good. It's a good board to work with. Staff is awesome. Marla and Delilah, they just work so hard. Makes our job a lot easier because the LDRs are thick. That's a question for another day. We could, but so anyway, and there are always parts, that obviously some of the wording you never know. You can write the best you can, but there's always unforeseen circumstances and stuff like that. But we do the best we can to, we do our job, which is to follow what the bylaws say, and all. And within that, there's some wiggle room, but we're pretty constrained by that. And staff helps us do that by clearly outlining what their analysis shows. And also, there's times when the staff report said, well, you can kind of go this way, you can kind of go that way. It's really your choice. So Marla helps keep everything kind of like I'm doing like a job recommendation for Marla, but it really does help our job a lot, and it lays it out clearly and all. And yeah, so I enjoy the work and all, and the evenings go by relatively quickly. And all. So it's been good. I enjoy it. I'm glad to keep doing it.
All right, excellent. Are there any questions? Yes, please.
Dan, so I believe that the legislature just passed, if I recall correctly, now the ability for local municipalities to go up to 9 members on the DRB without doing a charter change vote and so on. Do you have an opinion? Is 7 the right? I just recall hearing about quorum issues and we were down some members. Do you think 9 is something this council should look at, or is 7 the right number?
Oof. 9 would make it. Well, there's a challenge too, because we also, when we're doing our deliberations, we try to have everybody on board. And so most of the time we do it at 6 o'clock or 6:30 before the meetings on Tuesday. 9 might complicate it. There's also a question too of, unlike a city council or a planning committee, and I'm guessing here, don't quote me, I'm just guessing here, like the DRB is pretty constrained. I mean, you could have, hypothetically, you could do it with 3 people, if you really wanted to. Whereas the city council, a planning commission, or another commission is more policy oriented. So then having, a wider range of people, especially as the city grows and our issues become more complicated, we're not some East so-and-so of Vermont where you can just have 3 people that have lived there for 100 years or something run the town. So with the context of the you could go to 7, although I don't know if it would really, which is fine, and if it could make the meetings longer. I don't think decisions would change too much. We have I voted no on 1 or 2 proposals just because there's something in there I disagree with, but by and large, all the votes are, 5-0 or 6, or whatever. How many members we got? 7 now? Or we got 7? Yeah. So you could, but I don't know if it would. It's sort of, I guess, what would be the purpose of it? It would be fine. I mean, if more people want to join in, it would, and all. But then there's a thing too of we're trying to give, a chance for members to weigh in. We do have 1 or 2 members who recuse relatively frequently just because they're an engineering company, so you could go bigger. I don't, if you really wanted more people involved, I just don't know if it would make much of a difference only because we're so constrained by what the LDRs already tell us. So, but I would, if you want to do it, it's fine with me. So,
Thank you, Dan. Anybody else? Question for Dan? Tim does. Yep.
Sure. So, do you think that, like you said, you're constrained by the LDRs, but it's nice to have a diverse group of people from different walks of life, right? Those from the technical side, those from not that kind of technical side that offer their perspective. So when there is time to nuance or the opportunity to nuance, you get those suggestions, which is what I found when I was on the DRB, which is I was really thankful for, having a lawyer, an architect, an engineer, somebody who wasn't any of those things, So do you think you have that kind of balance now on the DRB?
I don't know what the previous DRBs were like, but we do have a good mix. I mean, we definitely are. I'm sort of a generalist planner, just been observing and watching and working in Chittenden County for almost 20 years now. And so that's kind of what I bring more of a what's the policy solution? Like, okay, we know what the good is in, we can see the end goal that everybody agrees and the applicant agrees this is the solution. But then the question is, does the LDRs allow us to do that solution? So that's kind of that's the mind frame I come from, if there is consensus, but yeah, we've got, the architect, and then having Stephanie as an engineer is great. And then of course staff makes our job so much easier too and stuff. So
very good. Yeah, and Mr. Cota.
If I may answer the question from Councilor Chittenden as a former DRB member, I think 7 is the right number, in my opinion. I don't know how former DRB member Councilor Barrett feels. It's just that with recusals and if people out or people have to resign because they're moving on to a different part of their life, it's just really hard without that full participation. So 7 is the right number if everyone is up and running and working and there's no recusals, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, we had to go to 5 at one point.
Yeah, it's harder.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have like alternates? So a case comes up or a proposal and 2 people already know that they have to recuse themselves. So then the alternates kick in? It sounds like they'd be pretty consistent members.
We, sorry.
Yeah, please answer.
We did have that, Councilor Reilly, during a couple of issues which we had recusals, and we brought in someone off the bench, Jennifer Smith, who did a fantastic job serving as a volunteer on the DRB, decided not to reapply, but agreed to come back for a case in which there were recusals that made it tough for us to get a quorum. So we have done it. It was an ad hoc thing and not a named position or consistent, but I think that's a great idea, Councilor Reilly.
So I think we should consider it if it's a problem. And there's people that are interested in maybe not being in every single meeting, but would, rise to the occasion when they're needed.
Is that something we can do under current statute?
I have no idea.
I'd want to talk to a lawyer or Jesse Baker, but I see Sue Alneck nodding furiously, and she attends a lot of these DRBs, so I think it's worth exploring.
Okay, well, very good.
If Sue says it, I'd go.
Yeah, we got Sue's endorsement here.
Yeah.
In the minutes.
I guess back to Dan, since he's still at the lectern maybe, do you think that would be a problem? I mean, as a board works together, you get to know each other, and you almost probably can anticipate, oh, Dan's going to ask that question, and, Dawn's going to ask this one. Would having alternates be difficult?
Not necessarily, although they need to get up to speed on issues and things like that. Alternates might. I mean, you could expand it to 9, but then you've got to get 5 members in the affirmative. So be careful what you.
I know.
Yeah. You know that as well. You guys know open meetings law. So, yeah. I mean, an alternate thing. I don't. I mean, at least this past year we've been able to make it work. So there haven't been too many things where we had to reschedule lots of meetings, things like that. But I don't know. How it'll continue. So.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I believe that's the conclusion of our questions. So thanks so much, Dan.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. And the next person I have is Charles Johnston. Is he right there? Very good. Well, welcome. And I see that you have served in the past on the DRB.
Here we go. Yeah,
There you
I
go.
just moved to South Burlington in October from Moncton, Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
I served on the DRB there for 2 years. I started during the pandemic, and so we were virtual and then in person. It was a 5-person board, so usually it was only 3 people. I started off as an alternate with them, and then I transitioned to vice chair and then chair, and then I moved, and they made me quit. So I'm an engineer for Du Bois & King. I work on dams. I'm a professional engineer. Interested in participating in my local government. So I put down DRB and Planning Commission, but willing to serve anywhere.
Do you have a preference between the two?
DRB, I think, is a little bit more straightforward. You interpret the rules and vote on that, where Planning Commission has more, I think, policy. So I prefer DRB, just from
charter.
All right, very good. Very good. And it's 2 very different communities. Things that strike you as how thick are your LDRs in Moncton, for instance?
I think the documents that we used there were only 50 pages long, so it was a lot more up to interpretation. There aren't strict rules there. I mean, there are certain size lots and first cuts and stuff like that, but when you're talking about lighting or stuff like that, it's rarely up to what you feel. So there was a lot more interpretation on that board than I would think probably in South Burlington.
And do you ever do projects? I don't know. The dams here are numerous, but any projects here in South Burlington that means you might have to recuse yourself?
No, I don't have any dam projects in South Burlington for, let's say, the municipality. I do work for maybe energy producers in the area.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Johnson, please? Matt.
Just 2 quick questions. Are you civil or structural engineer? Or?
Civil engineer, but I do some structural engineering on the side. Yeah.
And in Moncton, how does the staff work? Do you have someone that handles planning and zoning, someone who handles permits? Is the staff person that does both? How does that work?
Yeah, so there is a zoning administrator,
Mhm.
and they do that work. And then anything that they can't rule on by themselves goes to the DRB. And then we had a clerk on the DRB who happens to be a DRB member. And then you had a chair and vice chair, and then 2 other members. And we would write our own decisions and go from there.
But the town plan and other planning and
There
zoning
was a
decisions?
planning commission.
It's a separate, okay, good. Yep,
Yep.
great.
Any other questions, Mr. Johnson? Yes.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So, since you said you're willing to serve anywhere, I do want to just draw to the council's attention that you don't have enough applicants right now for economic development or charter. So you might want to ask the candidate if he would be interested in either of those, since he was so generously saying he would serve anywhere.
Or pension.
Or pension. Yes, very exciting.
All right. Did any of those things jump out at you, Mr. Johnston?
I applied for DRB and planning commission because of my background.
Yep.
But yeah, if that's what you're asking for, I guess, yeah.
How about, because the charter committee does not necessarily meet every month. It might start up to meet every month, though. It will. Okay, very good.
No, I knew I was signing up for twice a month for either of those. So if I don't have to meet every month, that's fine. I'm young. I have things I can go do. Yeah.
Right. And pension or economic development or charter is the constitution, of course, of our city.
Charter or economic development. I prefer not to be in pension.
Okay. It's kind of helpful. Is you learn you learn things.
It's really hurt.
You'd be with Mr. Barrett. That's
I'm sorry.
yeah. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Johnston? Well, great. Well, I really appreciate
Thank you.
coming forward. So, yeah, that shows that you enjoyed your work in Moncton. So, right? Left good taste in the mouth. All right.
And Dawn is online.
Thank you. So next up then is Dawn Philibert, who is our current chair.
Hello.
Hello. Good to see you. How are you, Dawn?
I'm, pardon me, I've been better. I have COVID, so
Oh, dear.
with me with my voice, and I understand Chair really is struggling too. So
Yeah.
we'll all get through, but
Oh, well,
I'm here.
the fact that you're both present here, even remotely, indicates that there's a good chance you will pull through. So we're definitely pulling for you, and we're really
we're committed.
sorry. Yeah, it is the time we're in. What leads you to reapply, Dawn?
Well, pardon me, I was appointed by you all 3 years ago, and I don't think I knew what I was getting into in terms of the breadth of the LDRs and the amount of time it took, but it's actually kind of grown on me. And I used to look at Matt Cota, who was our former chair, and say, wow, how does he do that? I mean, it's just amazing. And then Matt left, and someone else left. That moved me up the chain, and actually I've enjoyed it. We currently have a great board with a diverse group of people we have a civil engineer, we have an attorney, we have an architect, we have a planner, we have a lot of great expertise on the board. I don't have a civil engineering molecule in my body, but I do appreciate community process. I think I bring leadership to the group. I hope people think that. And I'm also very interested in the public's input about projects, because I think that it's a complicated issue. And I think many people who feel they may be affected by a project in a contiguous area to them want to fight it, and without the understanding because who would understand this, of the process that the planning commission creates the policy and the
DRB.
development review board adjudicates the policy. So I am really committed to trying to help members of the public understand the process and understand that we are listening to them and we hear their concerns. Because sometimes I think people think we go through the public comment process, but we don't hear their concerns. And we do hear their concerns, but sometimes that helps, but it doesn't necessarily change our decisions. So I hope that's what I bring, and I'd like to continue bringing that to the process.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Dawn?
Just, I have
Ellen?
one question,
Oh.
Don. Is that is that the authentic Andrew Wyeth painting behind you?
Yeah.
Yes, it's the original.
It's the original.
So if you,
Great. Where do you live
if you'd like
exactly?
to bid for it on
Are there
eBay,
locks on the
I'll
doors?
send- There are, yes.
We're all
It is.
Wyeth fans here. I noticed it too.
And you know, I have a dear friend who hates this painting, and I have people who love it. And I don't know if you've ever been to the site. I mean, I've been to the site, and it's beautiful. It's looking out over the ocean, which you can't see from the painting, but it has real meaning for me. It has for 50 years, and it's a painting, a print that my mother bought me when I was graduating from college. So it's very special.
Wow.
Nice.
There's an interesting
It is
history
not an
to it.
original. Pardon?
There's an interesting history to it.
Yeah.
Why he painted that painting.
I know.
Yeah.
Christina Olsen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other questions besides her interior decor? All right. Well, thank you so much, Dawn, and please feel better. And
Thank you, and thank you
Take care of
for
yourself.
letting me present this in front of you and for the opportunity to reapply. I hope you consider me.
we have, I think, no reason not to consider you, Dawn. I think that
Thank you.
we thank you for your service for the past 3 years.
It is my pleasure. It's a great community to serve.
It
And
is.
thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you. So, yes,
Michael Biama is online.
wonderful. So, Michael, you've heard your name. Hopefully, you can turn on your camera. Very good. Welcome. And if you could tell us in a few sentences or more what led you to apply for the DRB, we are all ears.
Excellent. Well, I've lived in the city of South Burlington for going on 5 years. I've grown to love it and I now work in it as well. And I have a breadth of experience in the real estate world, engaged with this DRB and with several other DRBs in my time working in the business. I do feel I have a good amount to offer, both in terms of perspective and energy and enthusiasm, all of which would be directed at serving the interests of the city and the people that live in it.
Very good. And you're also applying for the Planning Commission. How would you distinguish between the two? And I see Planning Commission is first on your list. Is that how it stands in your preferences as well?
In my mind, yes. I applied for a position on the DRB last year when there was one available. And I think, it was my choice at the time, but that's because there wasn't a Planning Commission seat available presently. And I spend a great deal of time in my professional career reviewing land development regulations and trying to understand them and how to work within them. And so I think actually in terms of where I might be able to add the most value, it would be on the Planning Commission in terms of setting policy, understanding the implications of that policy, and how it's likely to impact the community and potential projects that are before.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And do you have any policy points specifically that you would be interested or you see as more urgent than others?
Well, obviously, affordability is probably the most important topic on everyone's mind. sustainability, limiting environmental impacts, making sure that the projects fit within the community as a whole, holistically, and planning is a key part of that. So I would, without, I don't want to get into the details, but I do think there's opportunity for improvement.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Biama? Yes, Councilor Chittenden.
Michael, good to see you. Glad you applied again. There are 2 incumbents applying for the 2 DRB positions, and 1 incumbent applying for the 1 planning commission. And of course, it's an open seat, and it certainly that could be that you are considered for it. But I might ask, would you be open to economic development, city charter, or rec and parks as another way to get engaged with the city if planning commission and DRB don't materialize for you this time?
I would consider economic development. I hadn't previously, but I wasn't aware that the incumbents were applying again. But I'm interested in economic development and would consider that committee as well.
All right, and pension also, I believe, is a possibility. You can speak up if that's something that would be of interest. The Pension Advisory Committee.
I don't know how often those meet and when the days are, but
I think it's
I would
quarterly,
consider it.
right? You meet quarterly. I have to say that as someone who served on the Pension Advisory Committee / Channel 17 Board of Trustees, I learned a great deal about investments. So I just want to put it out there since we've talked about it twice, and I feel a hesitance. It's truly, I would say, a plum opportunity to learn about different strategies. And anyway, I just wanted to put that out
I'd
there.
consider it.
Plus, you get to work with Councilor Barrett, who's apparently a specialist in art. So I would love to know if he knows what's on your wall. But
I have a quick question.
yes, Mr. Barrett.
Hi, Michael. This is Tim. So, concerning the Development Review Board, do you have any sense as to how often you might have to recuse? Because I think ReArch is doing the OnLogic construction, right, or working with that. So
That is correct. I'm connected and work for Technology Park Partners, which own and develop the land around Technology Park. So there are some remaining lots that we still own. Whether we sold those to end users like OnLogic or develop them ourselves, I would definitely recuse myself from any of those projects.
that's all I wanted to know.
All right.
Yeah.
Helen, do you have any questions?
No, this is good. I remember the last time. So, and I'm glad you might consider economic development or pension as well, because those are important committees as well.
Did you nod at pension?
Yes, he said he might.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm looking to get involved any way I can. I obviously want to be involved in committees where I have expertise and I feel like I'm confident that I can add value and bring something unique to the table. I don't know much about pension, but I love to get involved and serve the city any way that I can.
You learn about all the different kinds of funds and the world markets. It's really interesting, actually. All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Biama. We're very grateful to you for your interest and your willingness to serve. And I don't know if you're here at the beginning of the meeting, but you will hear from our city manager within a week or two. We're going to...
Excellent. Thank you all very much for your time and consideration.
Yes, thank you. And have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you. All right, and we still have about 20 minutes, so we're going to have a scheduled 5-minute pause. The Economic Development Committee that you've heard us talk about, we have Harris Kennedy Lynch Jr. as our sole applicant. Is Harris here tonight?
Srini is the sole.
And
here tonight,
Srini.
sorry. Yep, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah, Harris, okay, thank you.
Ken is fine, actually.
Ken, thank you. Well, Mr. Linger, Ken, did I say your last name correctly? Lingy. All right. See, I'm a French professor, so I would say Lange. So I'll have to. All right. Well, welcome. And if you could tell us what led you to apply to the Economic Development Committee, we'd love to hear.
Thank you. I've also applied to the library board as well.
That is correct. That is correct. The library is under L and I'm up to my E's. So we're going to have you, though, speak to both, if you would.
Okay. It sounds like the Economic Development Committee isn't particularly competitive right now this year. So, still, so yeah, my name's Ken Lingy. I've lived in South Burlington for almost 5 years now, and I've got a 4.5-year-old and a 2-year-old. So, been pretty busy since moving here, but finally getting some opportunities to get out in the evening a little bit and get more involved in committee work in the community. Before I came to South Burlington, I was the director of a public library in Orange County, Vermont, for 8 years. So that's partly why I like to serve on the library board. I think I have a lot of experience with libraries and probably some perspectives to share about that. And when I came here, I went to the MBA program at UVM, and since I've mostly been working in for the past 3 years with the National Coalition for Community Capital on developing innovative strategies on financing community well-being and wealth building in various ways. For almost 2 years of that, I served as the executive director, and recently I've stepped down from that role to just serve on the board and to get more involved in Vermont and to get a little break from working and managing a house full of little kids during COVID era. But yeah, so my perspective on economic development and community development more broadly is generally that, I think there are opportunities for getting people invested in new and different ways, particularly retail investors who have generally not had much of an opportunity to invest in private enterprise for most of the past century, really, since the development of securities laws in the 30s. And so that's the work I do in community capital. And I think there are ways to apply that here. I mean, Vermont's been innovative in so many different ways in terms of community development. And there are a lot of folks here who are doing aligned work who I think we could learn from and engage. For instance, with the mall redevelopment, I think there could be some really interesting opportunities to really drive innovative local investment and engagement in other ways too. So.
Very good. Thank you very much. Very much. And for the library, feel free to tell us what leads you to wish to apply to that board as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, part of that is largely just that I do have so much experience running a library, and they're obviously I did that because I love them. I think they mean a lot to me. I think they mean a lot to our communities. They're a special place for kids, for people from all sorts of demographics, and I had an opportunity there to grow the engagement in the library significantly. I think we maybe doubled or maybe even tripled visitation and circulation in my time there, and grew our endowment substantially as well. And in my time there, I positioned the library to do a major renovation as well. So, I mean, obviously here in South Burlington, we have a phenomenal library in so many ways. It's not so much that we need, the same things that some of our rural libraries needed, a decade ago when I was there. But certainly all that relates to the kind of community building that happens around a public library and the way that a public library can serve as a community center is very important to me. That's what in our rural community, and this was in Orange County, the towns of Topsom and Corinth and surrounding towns as well, where I served as the director. That library served as was the only inclusive community center in the region. There's not a whole lot else in terms of even private enterprise there. So it was an important place for people to come together and get to know each other. And I think there may be opportunities here at our library to do more of that. I'd like to sort of look for them and tease them out maybe.
Very good, thank you. Other members of our council have questions for Mr. Lingy? Yes? Councilor Gordon.
Did you say you were from Topsom in Orange County or Corinth?
Yeah, Topsom and Corinth. The two towns are very entwined. They share a school district, and can't get one from parts of one. You have to go through parts of one to get from.
No,
one
I know
part
Orange
to,
County well. Thank you.
Yeah. So I lived in both at different times, and the town officially serves both. And it's not a municipal library; it's a 501c3 independent library. So actually, as it has a good endowment, we serve a lot of folks in Newbury, Bradford, Vershire, Orange, all around.
Great, thank you.
All right, other questions?
Just
Helen, yes, please.
Just a quick one.
Tim.
How do you like living on Proctor Avenue? Because I used to live on Meadow Road, and Mr. Albrecht lives on Proctor as well, but he's gone now. So.
Yeah, he's gone. Well, we love his apple tree. My girls love to pick apples when they're ready, and I love that little neighborhood.
It's a really convenient spot.
Oh, it's fantastic.
People
It's so
tend to
many
know
kids.
each other and help each other out. And
Oh
so,
yeah. Especially during this is the upside of COVID. Oddly, is that we were all couldn't go many places, and so all the folks in the neighborhood tended to, especially those of us with kids, and there are a lot of us with kids in that neighborhood, tended to sort of walk around town walk around the neighborhood as our main activity for a while. And so I really got an opportunity to get to know my neighbors in a way that I might not have otherwise, and really enjoying that a lot. And it turns out I bought the one house one of the few houses in the neighborhood with a pool, and I have little kids, and so I'm definitely getting to know the neighbors that way too.
Lots of pool parties in your future.
Yeah, probably this Saturday, but I don't.
Well, that's a community service too. So thank you
Yeah,
for
I
that.
suppose so.
Any other questions? Helen, did you have a question?
Just a comment. I think you have some interesting experience for both of your choices. It's a hard balance for me to think which one is better, a better choice. But is economic development your preference and then library?
I think so. Don't tell my library friends that, because people assume that I'm so committed to libraries that I wouldn't ever turn anything down to do anything with libraries. But yes, I think I think there are some particularly interesting opportunities in the near future in South Burlington that I'd love to have at least be a part of the conversation about.
Yeah.
Great.
Very good.
Thank you.
And you're familiar with the meeting times and the commitment?
Yeah. Like I said, I haven't been out in the evening much for a while, but we're getting to that point. The 2-year-old is a little more going to bed a little later. My wife has agreed that this is important. So.
Nice. Very good. Well, thank you very much for your willingness to serve, and you will hear from probably our city manager in 1 or 2 weeks.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, we are now on to H, Housing Trust Fund Committee, and we have Larry Kupferman, who's here in person. He is the incumbent, and we have one seat. So we won't hold our breath, but we are very grateful to you for your willingness to step up again. And apparently you're doing so well that nobody thought that they needed to apply.
So it is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Ah, yes. There must not have been room on our line. Thank you.
You're welcome. But it's great to hear everybody's interest in, and it's great to see so much interest in all the various committees. So the Affordable Housing Trust Fund has not actually met for at least 3 years. But before that, we have participated in 2 outstanding projects right here on Market Street, and we're the linchpin $50,000 beginning funding for those nonprofits to show that they had public taxpayer money involved in their projects. And I think that's a really important concept. I'm really interested in seeing how the ARPA discussion will go, and really appreciated Jesse's invitation to participate in the discussion with Housing Trust, with the Affordable Housing Group in that discussion. I thought that was a really good combination of ideas and talent. Thank you for that. That was super. And I'm certainly willing to serve another 3 years. I should say that it was also that participation in that process helped me get to know the other members of the committee because we just haven't met. But maybe the time will come. I know we had an inquiry, and I think before Kevin left, he had an inquiry from our local developer here about a project that they were doing, but they never actually applied. And I think the discussion really has to do, and I think council will need to consider, particularly the ARPA money, is private sector versus nonprofits, and who gets to apply.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the Housing Trust Fund is nonprofit driven, is devoted to nonprofits. So should the nonprofits have a plan and is accepted, then fine, we can participate. But I was interested to hear from Summit about their participation in the building of affordable housing, and they don't seem to have needed trust fund consideration in their financing plan. So it's pretty interesting.
They would probably differ.
I think so, but they didn't. Right.
Because they're trying to piece together all.
Right. It's the same puzzle. I mean, it's a huge list of resources you need to do to make those $25 million deals actually work.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't forget they had $1 million line item that was a wish list, right?
Yes. Yeah. Any questions for Larry? Helen, any questions? We're very
No,
grateful
you
to
do a great job, Laurie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I am going to look at the pension fund.
Oh.
I actually have a lot of experience with pensions.
Should we put your name on that list then?
But I have to look at it, and I don't,
Johnny will be able to go on TV and be a pundit and be interviewed on CNN, NBC, and MSNBC.
I think pensions are a very important feature of remaining municipal work, and
the Fed calls Tim. What should we do?
All right, I'll explore it and I'll be in touch with it. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. So we are now at the library board, and we have several people here on the list of our interviewees tonight. We have 5 minutes, so we probably won't get to everybody before 8:30. Are we going to hold that strictly to 8:30, or can we do all of them and take a break, or we'll see how it goes? All right, we'll see how it goes. So we have Lee Freeman, Anne Lalonde, Stacy Pape, Holly Painter, Kevin Morgenstein first, Penny Tompkins, Harris, again, we already interviewed Ken Lingy, Lauren Nicole Ballard Hatch, Timothy Riley, and Linda Bailey. So, Lee Freeman, if you are online.
I do not see him online.
Okay. Anybody? All right, I don't see anybody either. Okay, Anne Lalonde. She is here with us in person. Thank you for coming.
You didn't bring it with you.
We're the ones between you and your break. I'm sorry. Thank you for taking time with everybody. I really appreciate it.
I started 2 minutes late too, so.
Okay.
The evening's young.
Yeah, so I'm here to apply for the library board. I'm obsessed with the library. It's amazing on a kind of a selfish level. I love to wander the stacks and also take a break from work and look at the library online catalog. And I curate my audiobook hold list assiduously on Libby. So I'm a big user of the library, but also it's an amazing place for the community. The space is terrific. Their meeting spaces, the children's space is great. There's internet access for those who don't have it, and the events are really very wide ranging. There's the cookbook club and concerts and Dungeons and Dragons, and you can even borrow a sewing machine. So I'd love to be able to help the library continue to thrive.
Great. Very good. And so if you could tell us what you think you could bring.
Sure, I could do that. Yes, I'm a lawyer and an author, and I write a treatise on trademark law. Done that for about 20 years. So I have the lawyer analytic skills. You could even maybe write me down for the charter committee too, because I know there are a lot of people applying for the library board, but that's rings all the lawyer bells. I'm a good writer, which is always useful. And yep, I've had a lot of committee experience, my professional organization, and some leadership there. So
Very nice. Are there other questions for Ann? Yes.
Did I hear you correctly, Ann? You can check out a sewing machine at the library?
You can, yes.
I did not know that.
Yes.
But you have to bring it back with the bobbin loaded with thread. You can't bring it back empty.
Right.
Learn how to use it.
I learned something today. Thank you.
There you go.
You can
You're
also
welcome.
check out gardening equipment.
Yeah.
She
Mhm.
is.
Yeah. And a pass to some of the parks, right?
Pass to some of the parks.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yes, please, Tim.
How are you at grant writing?
We've never done it, but I could.
Well, there we go.
I'm a quick learner.
There we go. And do you know a one Martin Lalonde that also lives on?
I do, yes.
Okay.
I'm eager to follow in his footsteps in a board of some sort.
Well, if you could tell us a little bit about your national novel writing.
How much time do you have? I'm going to be very quick. National Novel Writing Month.
Yes.
November. You write 50,000 words. It's a draft of a novel. I've done it this will be the 14th year this November. It's for fun. You're not writing an actual novel. You're writing a novel. You're writing a draft. It's not very good, but it's really fun. For those of us who think that kind of thing is fun, it's great. You get to create your own characters, and they sometimes don't do what you think they're going to do, which is really weird because you're the one writing the book. But yeah, it's fun.
You find the time to do that.
If you, it's amazing how much time you have. If you can make the time in November,
Right.
you think, wait a minute, maybe I have some more time the rest of my life to do extra things that might be not super productive but are fun. So, yeah.
Oh, I think it's very productive,
yeah, so-
actually. Yeah, I think writing is.
What happens to these novels?
Anything you want to happen to them. I've printed some up. And I'm not going to give them to you, but
Are they on Amazon?
maybe some are possibly.
How many are created in the program? Total.
How many are in?
If it's national, right?
It's everywhere in the world.
Is it tens of thousands of novels that are created?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of reading.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful thing. So I don't have questions other than I'm assuming that you know when the board meets.
Yes, I've been to a couple of the meetings. They're great people.
Right, and the Economic Development Committee as well
Charter.
as an evening.
Charter. Not
Charter,
economic
you
development.
said
I would
a
be the
charter.
wrong
I
person
have
for it.
Economic Development Committee on the brain. Charter Committee, we don't have time set up for that yet, right?
We don't. We're looking for new
I'm super
appointees.
flexible.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you offering yourself up for that too.
Thank you.
So I guess without more ado, thank you very much.
Can I just ask?
Oh, Helen, yes.
And would you do both the charter and the library?
Sure. Yes. That sounds great.
Okay.
I could, the chance to write a constitution. I mean, how could you say no?
For a lawyer, no kidding.
Or a novel. I mean, it's yeah. Lots of
Right.
fun.
Great.
Yeah.
Chris
If only
could
we could
launch
put you on the
his
Supreme
political
Court,
career.
Anne.
Right.
All right. All right. Well, very good.
Thank you.
Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody feeling okay, or should we take a break? Yeah, okay, I heard a break. I'm going to defer to the first. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. And thanks very much. Thank you for your service and for reapplying. And can you
Thank
tell
you.
us a little bit about what led you to reapply?
Sure. So I have been with the library board for 4 years, 3 as the vice chair, and I really enjoy being on the library board. We have done a lot of great work getting, with the help of Jennifer Murray, the librarian, and the whole staff. They are just amazing. We have a great space, great programs, very enthusiastic staff that are at the ready all of the time, which just gives me more energy. And I really want to make sure the library succeeds in our community, because I feel strong libraries bring about strong communities, because it takes away from lifelong learning just for us and brings it to the community, so everybody has a chance to find new skills, new opportunities, and I'm just happy to be there. And actually, Patrick Leduc, the current chair, would be very disappointed if I didn't reapply, because it's my turn to take over as chair. So
All right. Well, very good. Very good. Are there any questions for Stacy? All right. Well, I think we are all unanimous in thanking you very much. And Patrick then will join us. We're 6 in thanking you very much for reapplying. And enjoy
thank you
the
so
rest
much.
of your evening. Thank you.
Thanks.
And the next person we have is Holly Painter. I hear she's online. Hello, Holly. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
And can you tell us a little bit about why you're applying?
Sure. In the interest of time, I'll skip the part about how I love the library, because we all love the library. But I think I wanted to just highlight some of the different perspectives that I think that I bring, because I bring a lot of different perspectives, which is the reason that I applied. So I teach English at the University of Vermont, both literature and writing, creative writing, research writing. I am also an author. I have 2 small children. One is 2.5, one is 7. The 7-year-old goes to Rick Marcotte, and he has autism. And so the way that the 2 of them sort of access the library is specific. And so, accessibility is really important to me. I am also queer and non-binary. And so libraries are sort of important to me, coming from those communities. Before I moved to Vermont, I lived in Singapore. At the time that I was there, they were pulping books to the library that represented families like mine. And so the first year that I moved here and went to the Pride Parade and saw people from the library marching in the parade, that was the thing I remember about that year, about that parade, feeling like Vermont was a good place for my family because of that representation. And I similarly, curate my Libby list, and it's got the funding for queer audiobooks and ebooks, so that all Vermonters can have access to those. So I think those are some of the things that specifically, in addition to skills, I work at UVM. I've been on every committee, so certainly I know a lot about committee work. I have not done any grant writing, but I was an academic copy editor for 10 years, so I've certainly edited and read a lot of grants. So I think I have a lot of skills, but I also bring some perspectives that I think are important for our community to sort of have at the table.
So you say you do write grants.
I do not write grants.
You do not.
I edit grants.
You edit grants, okay.
Yes, I was an academic copy editor for 10 years. And so I have edited many grants. I have not written any grants.
Okay, but you're familiar. Okay. Are there any questions for Holly Painter? Anybody? Helen, do you have any questions?
So you're aware, are you an incumbent? I'm trying to remember. No. So are you aware, have you been to some of the meetings and aware of the time?
I've not yet been to any meetings. I understand they're Tuesdays at 6. Thursdays at 6? One of the days with the T. One of the current members called me and we had a long chat about it, and she sort of talked me through the different time commitments. And I do have small children, but my wife is very supportive, and I free to leave my house at 6 p.m.
Great. Okay.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for applying, and it's a real pleasure to see a fellow UVMer on the screen here. And we will be in touch within a week or two. We're going to be discussing probably later tonight, later than anybody would wish to be part of. And but the decision will be forthcoming and be communicated to everybody within a week or two. So
Great.
thank you. Yeah. Have a good evening. All right, and the next person we have is Kevin Morgenstein first, and I know that name too. Is Kevin online? There we go.
Hello.
Nice, and thank you for coming and welcome. And could you tell us a little bit about why you are applying to the library board?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep my love of the library short as well. But actually, we were just there on Saturday. I've got two little kids, a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old, and we took out more books, I think, than I could carry. Like just some indication of our library usage. But I would say the thing that I bring to the table for this committee is I'm a professional fundraiser at UVM. And so when I was at the library, I saw the big thermometer with the campaign. And so outside of loving the library and actually echoing all the things the other candidates have said, I'm a fundraiser, so I can help the library reach their fundraising goals. So whether that's writing grants, I execute more campaigns than I want to say at UVM. And so this is really second nature to me. So that's, I think, would be my biggest strength, I think, on the committee. I love fundraising. Not a lot of people do that, and not a lot of people like it. It's the thing that I love, and so I would be happy to bring those skills to the committee.
And do you know when the library board meets and all of the commitments that you're signing yourself up for if you're selected?
Yep, absolutely. That's
Okay.
not a problem at all.
Okay. Any questions here on the council? And Helen, do you have any questions?
No, I'm just very happy to hear someone who loves to raise money. When you finish with the library, we could shuffle you over to,
Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
A rec center.
Oh, the rec center.
The rec center. We'll have to raise some money for that too.
Just all purpose.
Your kids could use that too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. And are there other committees that you would be interested in? I know we've said that as well. As you might know, since you were here probably, we have 6 positions and there are 12 applicants. So are there other positions such as the Recreation and Parks Committee or the Economic Development Committee or the Pension Advisory Committee or the Charter Committee that you'd be interested in?
Yeah, I'd be happy to be considered for the Recreation and Parks Committee as well. But the library is really my top choice.
Okay. We got that.
Got it.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you so much and enjoy the
Thank
rest
you.
of your evening.
Thanks. Take care.
You too. And the next person is Penelope Tompkins. Penny.
The little light is green, is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So this, by the way, this is the next Cookbook Club book for July. It's a huge tome. Anyway.
It's
I'm trying to
American
find a record
cuisine.
For the cookbook. Yes, it's called America the Cookbook.
Wow.
I know. It's a big one. So.
That's...
So I guess that I have served as a trustee in the library. My term of service, I think it ended last June, and I didn't reapply because I've devoted a ton of the time to the Library Foundation instead.
Mhm.
So I just decided that I'd already been doing it for a year on helping the foundation and working on the Aspire campaign, and so just for me felt like my concentration needed to be on the foundation. I've been doing marketing and fundraising and and have a great graphic designer we work with who made that big thermometer out in the hallway. So that's pretty exciting. And I reapplied. I didn't know we have so many people applying. So I'd actually say, get the fundraiser. We need the fundraiser. So, and one of the reasons I reapplied is that the ongoing role for the foundation for our library, it is there. And the trustees are really the governing board. They are the same governing board. The trustees and the foundation will have the same board. And so that piece for me meant, well, I've been working at the foundation as a volunteer, but really, I think I'd like to have a seat at the table of the decision because the trustees is the deciding board. So that, I don't know if that makes sense to you all, but that is one of the reasons I reapplied. And because I still love the library like others do. And I feel like I've been able to give some, been of service to the library through the foundation in this last year, even though I wasn't a trustee. So that's why I reapplied. Yeah. Don't know what else to say except that I do participate in the programs, and like others have said, we're very lucky to have such a wonderful building and space, and have the staff that we do at the library. They are always super helpful, and we are bringing in new programming all the time for the library, and that's also why the fundraising arm needs to stay strong for the future of the library, for what we can continue to offer. We have the space. We have more we can do to fill it with more programming and things. And so that's what I hope to help do for the library.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm keeping it short and sweet because it's late, and I assume you just assume we keep moving. So questions? Anybody have questions? I'm happy to answer.
Well, you answered the one I've asked all night. Is there another question from here's Tim?
What's your favorite recipe in that cookbook?
Well, I've decided I might try the Peruvian ceviche, or I might do the cold poached salmon. So there's actually quite a few in here, and this is one of those things that I don't necessarily help choose the books. I'm just one of the members of the group. And when I saw it, I was like, why did they pick a 600-page book? But having skimmed through it, well, here, I have to say it's really a good cookbook and very interesting. So, and the cookbook group there's a bunch of devoted people. It's maybe 8 to 10 people that's come pretty regularly every month. And it's a wonderful way to share. And it's just another little slice of our library.
Can I just ask one clarifying question?
Sure.
So you would continue on the foundation and the library board? Is that,
Yes,
but you'd be a voting member of the board?
I was not a voting member of the foundation for the last year
Oh.
because I was a pure volunteer, because I
Oh.
wasn't a trustee anymore.
So only trustees are on the foundation board?
On the board, on the voting board, that's correct.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if you'd be interested to know this, but a lot of the work that's done for the foundation has been by all volunteers in the past year. Stacy also, so some of the trustees, but a lot of the day-to-day things for the foundation, it was half volunteers and half trustees. So
Good
I don't
to
know
know.
if that's interesting to you, but
It is. And we give our thanks for everybody. So.
I mean, we're all volunteers.
Right, right.
Oh, sorry. Any other questions?
Helen, do you have any questions for Penny?
Nope.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. And really tremendously, the foundation did outstanding work. We have a lot of people. I think that the number of applicants to this position are a testament to the good work that you did. I think it is. All right. Next person that we will be interviewing is Lauren Nicole Ballard Hatch. All right, Lauren, if you could turn, there you are.
Oh.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you all?
Very good. Thank you for joining us. And if you could just explain to us briefly, or a little bit more than briefly, what led you to apply for this position?
Okay, great. So on
And reapply,
reapply,
actually, you're an incumbent.
Yeah, so I'm reapplying. So I think I've been on for 2 years now. And yeah, it's been a busy 2 years because obviously it's been the time that we moved into the new space. And then mainly what I've been doing is I've been working on the governance and nomination subcommittee. So we've been really busy working with Jennifer and going through and doing all new policies for the library. So we've got all of these new spaces and all of these new, you know, amenities for the community and trying to figure out how to best create policies that serve the community and work, you know, logically and simply for the library. And just been kind of trucking through.
How many?
And
How long of a list is that, Lauren?
I don't know. It's been like the past year straight, just kind of, you know, some of them we get done quickly and some of them take like several meetings, which I guess ends up being a few months because we meet once a month. We meet a week and then we have the general meeting in a week and then we'll discuss it and then sometimes we'll bounce it back several times. So yeah, I think we're like nearly done, but so moving on to new projects. But yeah, so it's been really fun. I've got one kid, I've got another one on the way. So I'm about to have two. And it's just been a really nice way to be involved and to help out. And I've really enjoyed doing it and want to keep doing it.
Well, congratulations to you. Yeah. Are there questions from other members of the council for Lauren or Helen?
Just an observation, you know, I'm so glad that you're reapplying to sort of have that continuity over the development of policies and governance, because with a great big library and lots of spaces, well, I mean, there's a lot more to kind of organize and have a process and policies and procedures that the public believe are well thought out and really work for the library. So thank you very much. Not everyone thinks that's really fun work, so I'm glad you.
Yeah, thank you. We are, I think, unanimous in thanking you. So it's and it might be a job that you're glad is behind you, but you've definitely left your mark. So it must be gratifying to know that you were a part of that foundational moment. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then I'm sure there will be lots of details to adhere to in the future now that we've been in the space for a while and doing things. So yeah.
Yeah. So that continuity is important. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right. Thanks. I got to get my daughter to bed.
Yeah, I suppose it's dark outside now. We can't tell,
Yeah.
but we're looking at the clock. Have a good evening and good
All
sleep.
right. Thank you.
Good night. Timothy Riley, is he online or he's here in person? Very good. Thank you, Timothy. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Tim Riley, and I'm interested in joining the Library Board of Trustees. Kind of starting in an ascending order of importance. I'm a consumer, nonfiction, the magazines, the journals. I want to contribute. I think the success of the library can be tied to many volunteers over many years, and I want to build on that as well. I value lifelong learning, and certainly the library can serve as the center of that in our community. Certainly books, yes, but I think the programming that Jennifer's team has brought has just been excellent. We're talking about the sewing club, and if you go around the corner, that's where the sewing machines are. You know, the art programming, the technical training, the music programs, the winter concert series. I think my favorite is the Appy Hour for seniors. I really think it speaks an awful lot to what the library can serve as education. My background is in healthcare technology. So I'm very familiar, certainly with the needs of healthcare, the needs of social service organizations. When I look at the committees that are available, of the five, the ones that get my attention are finance, fundraising, and advocacy. And as I mentioned, my background is healthcare technology, social service technology, and those are certainly sectors of our economy that aren't strangers to finance items and fundraising and also advocacy. I have the great fortune of being retired, so I have a great deal of flexibility during the day. I also have the fortune of working 10 to 15 hours a week doing some consulting work as well. So I have great flexibility in that regard.
Yeah.
So I look at this as an opportunity to contribute. I think it's a great fit. I think that, and I think it would be fun. So I appreciate your consideration for joining as a library trustee.
Are you a grant writer?
I'm not a grant writer, no.
Okay.
Have I had experience helping customers with grants? Have I helped them with fundraising efforts? Yes, but not as the author.
Okay. All right. And as you probably, because you've been here all evening, heard us say there are other committees with openings. Would you be interested in the Economic Development Committee or the Recreation and Parks Committee, the Pension Advisory Committee, or the Charter Committee? Any of those speak to
So
you?
I always hesitate to get on a team where there's another Tim.
Ah. Why? I've always there are only nice Tims in the world.
The Economic Development Committee is one that is of interest to me.
That would
yes.
speak to you. Fabulous. Very good. Any comments or questions from my colleagues here on the council? Helen, you too. Any from you?
No, I'm all set.
All right.
Great.
Well, we thank you very much.
Great.
Yeah.
And thank you. Appreciate your time tonight.
We
Thank you.
appreciate your time tonight. Thank you. You've been here all along. Okay. The next person we have is Linda Bailey, and she's here present. How are you, Linda?
I am good.
Good.
And I have to tell you, I am blown away. The library is doing so great. It's calling in all these great people for it. You've got experienced people. You've got a fundraiser, grab him. You've got a writer. I think you've got your board already. The thing that I would bring, if you would like to consider me, is I spent 3 years running the Varner Memorial Library in Jeffersonville. In my younger days, my youngest daughter took her newborn naps under my desk. So, but I think that you've got some really great people on this. I would love to serve with them and bring my lifelong bookwormingness and everything else to it.
Very good. And besides your love for books, what other things do you think you could bring to the library?
My experience from actually running a library, doing what Jennifer does, seeing it from that side of things, what it takes to organize programs, bring new things onto the library. Not that it hasn't got enough new things right now, but that side of the experience.
Very good. And as you heard me just say to Tim, we have several committees with openings. Should I run through the list again, or?
No, I think I've got them.
Well,
Pension,
Megan,
not
she's
with a
interested in
please.
Parks and Rec.
Natural resources.
And then
Yes,
natural
I am.
resources.
Yes.
Natural resources, but keep pension. You would be
Okay, I was
interested
going
in?
to say pension, not with a 10-foot pole.
Not with a 10-foot
Not.
pole.
No.
Ah.
My husband already serves on the economic board, so probably not that one either.
Okay.
But Parks or Rec or the charter boards would both be interesting.
Okay, and the Natural Resources Committee. Helen was right to
Absolutely.
point that out to me.
Yes.
If you could tell us what leads you to apply for the Natural Resources and Conservation Committee.
Yes. South Burlington has a lot of beautiful natural resources, which the latest land development regs are making sure that we keep a lot of open land. as the cities, the towns around us continue to build up, we're going to keep seeing more animals looking for places to live. And one of the things that seems to me to be a natural thing for this board to want to work on is educational, so that we don't have poor outcomes from wildlife and human interaction. Like we've had according to the Community Watch, we've had a black bear that's been around the area lately. I've seen pictures of bobcats from trail cameras. I know we have foxes and other things like that that I've seen. And I think a lot of work needs to be done on education so that the wildlife and the human life get along well. I raised my kids in Jeffersonville for 25 years, and we lived in a home that had miles of forest behind us. My kids can tell you stories of running into the black bears at the raspberry patch. We had a probably Fisher cat who attacked our hens and turkeys. So I have some lived experience with what you need to do.
Great, very good. Are there questions from fellow councilors here? Yes, Matt? No? Okay, Helen, do you have a question?
No.
Okay, thank you,
right.
everyone.
Thank you. You
Thank you,
likewise
Linda.
have been here all this time, so thank you for your time and your willingness to give more. And next up, we have Michelle Corpus for the Natural Resource Committee, Conservation Committee. She is online. Hi, Michelle. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you could tell us briefly, or a little more than briefly, what led you to apply? That would be of
Sure.
interest to
And
us.
so I'm applying to this one and also the Planning Commission.
Yes,
And
thank you.
I grew up here in South Burlington and have recently returned. I've been back about a year and a half. And I have a background in wildlife biology. I worked as a wildlife biologist for about 20 years in California.
Mm-hmm.
And so nature and conservation is very, very close to my heart. And I have a lot of experience in it. When I was in California, I was responsible for writing mitigation measures that put almost 100,000 acres into mitigation lands in perpetuity. And as I'm coming back, I'm looking at like issues with the moths right now that are eating all the trees, and just trying to balance, like looking at a lot of construction that's going on and trying to balance the necessity to look out for humans and development while we're also conserving our natural resources that really support our well-being.
Are you more interested in the Natural Resources and Conservation Committee than the Planning Commission? Is there a preference?
Um,
And I can just tell you that there are 4 positions on the Natural Resources Committee, and you are one of 4 applicants.
Oh, well done.
Well, in that case.
If I'm remembering correctly, was it the natural resources that had 3 openings for 3 years and 1 for 1 year? Or
That's
was that on the
correct.
planning commission?
That's correct.
That is correct. Okay, so I'm interested in both of them, and I have background in both of them. So working as a wildlife biologist, I had to present often in front of the Planning Commission and at the I'm sorry, my cat just jumped. So I have experience in both, and I would say that I would like to go where I could be of greatest service.
Mm-hmm. So someone who would, a committee that would need someone with your natural wildlife biologist background. Is that what you, or do you bring other skills that you would like to put to service as well?
Well, I can tell you that I'm a very, very good project manager. And I really like to collaborate and listen to all opinions and then really help develop the most coalesced path. I would say either one of those. And also, I understand. I guess I'm sorry for stumbling here. Natural resources is near and dear to my heart. And if you really don't have, if you need somebody there, I would be well suited there. And I would also be well suited for the Planning Commission.
Very good.
And then if there were, I know that you have these other opportunities too. Now, can people be on two committees?
They can. So
Okay.
is there another committee we've been talking about that would be of interest to you?
Well, like it seems like nobody really kind of wants to be on the
Pension advisory.
pension, right? And then I believe it was you who said that you learned quite a bit there. I'm by no means like have background in anything financial except for taking care of my own finances, which I'm pretty good at. But I'm most interested in natural resources and planning commission, and I am very committed to serving the community.
Would you be willing, because the pension advisory meets 4 times per year, would you be willing to do one of the 2 committees you applied for and pension advisory?
I would be interested in that, sure.
Nice. That's very kind and generous of you. Thank you. Any questions for Michelle? Yes, Matt.
Just out of curiosity, Michelle, what county were you working in California as a wildlife biologist?
Oh, I worked throughout the state. So I worked in private consulting for many years, and then I worked for a large utility. And so I went all the way from the Lost Coast down into the Mojave.
Okay.
That's quite a diversity of ecosystems out in
Yeah,
California.
I was up in the Sierras doing goshawk surveys and down in the Mojave with desert tortoise and yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I'm sure you follow the news whenever they announce California, right? These days.
I do. But to answer your question, I lived in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of my work was, in the greater Bay Area.
I spent some time I lived in Santa Barbara. Spent some time in Kern County with biologists trying to save the condor, and so I know of that struggle.
Yeah, yeah. Kern County is really great, a great area for kit fox.
Yes, that's right.
Very good. Other questions?
No, I just want to say that I think that the Natural Resources Committee is a really important committee because we've been struggling with trying to codify how we protect that asset in our city. And we need experts to guide us along that way. And there are a lot of issues right now. I mean, we've got the emerald ash borer problem. We've got the caterpillars munching away on the leaves. Not that we can do much about that. But the synergy between the NRC and the Planning Commission is really important to help guide the Planning Commission in some of their important decisions, right? So having experts, in the NRC, I think is a real asset.
They have a lot on their plate, and with subcommittees doing, I think you mentioned a few of the projects, but working on their open space plan is going to take someone with organizational skills. So that's great that you mentioned
I'm a really
that.
good project manager. Like I'm kind of like I consider myself like I'm in the helicopter. Yeah. And I see where people are on the ground, and then I say, okay, you need to move over here and do this, and remember to look at that. I don't know. I spent many years doing that.
Yeah, that would be a great skill for that committee. My husband serves currently as the chair on that committee, so I have some knowledge of what's needed. So
I would be very happy to be on the Natural Resource Committee.
Very nice. Well, as I said, you're one of the 4 applicants for 4 positions. So chances are you'll be hearing in an affirmative way from our city manager in 1 to 2 weeks. I don't want to say that's the end of the interview. However, there any other comments or questions? Helen, did you have anything?
No, she answered great.
very good. So they meet once a month. I believe it's Wednesday, 6 to 8. I believe
The
that's.
first Wednesday of the month, is that correct?
You are correct. Yes. Yeah, you're ready to go. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. And enjoy
Thank
the
you.
rest of what is now the late part of the evenings. And hopefully have a good rest of your week.
Thank you. Be well, and to all of you who are recovering from any illness, here's to a quick and full recovery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be well.
You too.
Bye.
All right. We are now we're skipping the Pension Advisory Committee, but it looks like we have someone we could pencil in there. And we're going to go to the Planning Commission. So we are going to see from, let me see here on the list, if we've done everybody. We have Monica, of course. The most patient of the applicants. We keep you.
Aren't we the commission to planning? So we should have been higher.
That we can certainly hear.
Time commission to planning. Thank you. So I submitted with my application a little write-up, which I think you all have because I don't want to otherwise repeat it. But I have been completing now 2 terms, so you know that I've really appreciated the opportunity to do that. And I'm happy to continue on. You know that I have demonstrated my willingness to work not only within the commission, but also outside of the commission to really work to bring in the community's comments and perspective and make sure that they have a sense of clarity on what we're doing. So I'm available and interested in continuing to do that kind of outreach. I do want to say that, so I'm very interested in continuing, and we do have the comp plan coming up, which is going to be a lot of the focus over the next 3 years. So that would be a lot of what my time would be going into.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, and I think this went to Helen and Jesse and to Paul and Jessica, that with all of this, I do feel that the commission, the makeup of the commission, I'm listening to the makeup of the DRB as being very diverse, and and I feel that the commission has lost some of its diversity. With particularly the 2 people who have left their positions because they've moved or had work, but they had expertise in construction and engineering. And I wanted to point that out because I'm definitely interested. However, I want you to choose the candidate that can make the Planning Commission the strongest for the city. And if you don't know that you've heard from a candidate that can provide something that I can't yet, I would ask you to not rush the decision. I'm here. I'm ready to serve. You know how dedicated I am. But I do feel that the commission could really benefit from having some more diversity. And if that is not found, and you choose me, you know what you get from me. You get it all. I'm in. But I am certainly open to your considering, and if you do have another candidate that you think coming up on comp plan can really give a more diverse perspective, then I would respect your decision to get with that.
I just want to say, as someone who has called upon your expertise to explain things to me, especially in advance of the major LDR amendments that were passed in February, you have impressed me as someone who can grasp the intricacies of different formulas and different zoning districts and explain how all of that fits together in a way that has truly helped me as a counselor. So I'm assuming I'm not alone. And I just want to thank you for that, because
Absolutely.
that having someone who knows, who can digest it and then who can explain it is worth a lot when we as counselors are trying to make sense of very complicated. We've heard about hundreds of pages tonight. We're a big city with a lot of diverse zoning and intricate rules, and I think they're there for a reason because we're a big city with diverse neighborhoods and kind of topography, and so someone who can digest that and say it in layman's terms is very valuable. So you've definitely provided that. Yeah, please, Tom, sorry.
I sometimes pretend to be Tim, depending on what people want to talk to me about. Monica, I just want to say I think you're fabulous on the Planning Commission, and I really think you should continue, and I'm glad that you applied. But I take your diversity concern seriously, and what I would rather shift the conversation towards is the fact that I believe S-181 passed and was signed into law, and I think effective July 1st, so city councils and select boards can expand the Planning Commission up to 9 members without a charter change. I see the comp plan as being very important to have those diverse perspectives and also more bodies around the table for subcommittee work and so on. So I really hope that you're fully on board and want to stay on the Planning Commission, and you have my vote. I'll just disclose that now, but I would welcome this council to consider additional seats for the Planning Commission on the horizon.
Question, yep, Councilor
I'd
Cohen.
like to ask Monica if she thinks that's a good idea, bad idea to expand the number of planning commissioners.
I wondered if that would come up while you had the discussion earlier with the DRB. I would say, I think it's your call. If I am selected, then you know what the makeup is of the Planning Commission, and I think given the comp plan work, it might not be a bad idea. That said, I don't know that it comes down to numbers normally. I just really feel strongly that the Planning Commission, whatever the number, really needs to make sure that it has diverse perspectives. When I joined, I jokingly say one of my, arch nemesises was Art. He and I were on a master planning task force together, and we kind of were opposites always, but I learned so much from him. It's so important. And I just feel that you don't have it right now, as from my perspective on the Planning Commission, as much as I would suggest the city have it. So I like the idea for right now with the comp plan, but I would ask that you take the time and identify what strengths and weaknesses. In fact, I asked of the Planning Commission that we begin as part of the plan to identify ourselves, what we feel as a commission, our strengths and weaknesses are, and what we're lacking, and where we have maybe a tremendous amount of strength. And so what can we do to round that out? Because if we don't round that out, the comp plan to me is not appropriately looking at the best view of the city. So if that answers the question.
Can I follow up?
Please.
Just to drill down, and I appreciate your candor. When you're speaking of diversity, you're talking about socioeconomic background, geography, or personal professional backgrounds.
So, it'd be wonderful to have more diversity of our makeup on the committee. And quite frankly, I put in, when Jessie was just starting, so I don't fault her, but I did put in some comments about some things that I think all city boards and commissions could be doing a little bit differently in terms of particularly some gender identity language, and that has not come back yet. And that was a while ago, but I know that there's a bigger conversation happening there. So in general, I think there's work no matter who, a lot of commissions and boards, and I'm on another advisory board, and the conversation is always, how can we make the board more demographically diverse? And that's a difficult discussion because only so many people have the time and the capacity to step up. So therefore, I do think that it's responsible for a board to acknowledge that and identify what they don't have and talk about very specifically how they can properly represent, what they can do about that. Just do the best. But in particular, pertaining to the people the makeup of the board from a perspective and level of experience, professional background, and interest level for the city in particular was what I have felt there's been a shift in. There's a very strong presence of, certain perspective and I miss the other perspective. I think it really helped us. So if you did add, I would just again ask you take your time with that and have maybe whatever the path would be, but find that balance. I think it would help. And if you do have another candidate, I love South Burlington too much to just be a position hog, So good luck, Tag, you're it.
I would just suggest that I know the library board works very hard at identifying what their skill sets they need, and they do some recruitment. I mean, they go out and talk to people and encourage them to run. And I think I would encourage the planning commission to do as you suggest. Well, think about what are the all the different elements that would make for a broad perspective that is reflective of the community, and then potentially help by recruiting. I would also put the plug in just from Ted's perspective to expand the commission for the, if nothing more, to be able to have effective subcommittees to work on things and not run into it's a quorum issue. But that's another commission member's perspective. But I do thank you for your work and how you really do try to bring a fuller perspective to the conversations.
Thank you.
I think it's important, Monica.
Thanks. Good. Tim?
I just want to say that, we were in interim zoning for 3 years, an extra year because of the pandemic and whatnot. And, I think the Planning Commission had a very large plate, and they had a lot to chew on, and then they were given a second plate, and then one plate was pulled away, and then, but the point is that when the deadline came, you got it done, and I'm really thankful for that, and thankful for all the work you put in, because it was a large amount of work, and it paved the way for some significant changes in our regs, and I'm grateful for that. So, thank you.
Happy to be part of it.
Well, you were the grand finale.
Oh, okay.
Oh no. What am I missing?
Oliver Pearson, Reckon Parks, and Cindy Freeman.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oliver Pearson. Cindy
Kind of
Freeman, we
interested in
saw.
the pension thing. If I can learn
Oh,
You wanna be on the
to
pension
boost
committee?
my own financial, if you need somebody.
For pension advisory? Oh,
4 times a year.
Monica. All right. I'll push you down. I need it too. We all need some help these days. All right. So I'm sorry, excuse me. So Oliver Pearson and Cindy Freeman, both are here for Recreation Park. Excuse me.
So, actually, I don't know if Oliver is here, but Cindy is here.
Cindy. Ah, very good. Please excuse me. I thought we'd already interviewed you, but that was, I guess, back in March or April, I guess. So thank you for coming back.
Yeah. So I'll keep this really short.
No, you're last. You're going to talk for an hour.
So I've been in the community forever, was brought up here. My kids were, I have a lot of family here. We love the recs and parks. We use them a lot. We've used the activities, the sports, the programs, and, from young to old, my mom as well. So I really appreciate everything. I like the night outs, and I noticed that one of the needs is writing and editing, and that is a skill set of mine, and also photography. I think it would be kind of cool if South Burlington got a better Instagram, and I think that could also allow for a number of, especially in the recs and parks. A lot of areas you could really grow there. So that's it. So go ahead and ask me questions about recs and parks
How
if
about
you want.
Twitter?
What's
How
that?
about Twitter too?
Twitter, I'm not really good at Twitter, but I could try. I could figure it out, I think.
What's
Yeah.
Instagram? What's the difference? I've never gotten into Instagram. I'm
It's
sorry.
really a visual platform, and so a lot of people just go there quickly and look at
Pictures?
images. Yeah, and then there's a little writing to it. Yeah, I have 3 Instagrams, so Vermont Rolling Pin, Cindy Freeman Photography, and then CF Flower Prints. So yeah, so I do know a lot about the Instagram world, but Twitter is, I think you're right, that would be really good to get the young kids.
And it's a
and-
relief to see something nice about people in parks as you're doom scrolling through the rest of the world collapsing, and you see it's bikes and bites nights, or the food trucks are,
Yeah, it
or,
would be really cool. TikTok would really be
I'd
cool.
love to see more tweets. There aren't enough right now.
But maybe first, maybe try to do something like Church Street Marketplace, and then I mean, I think I like your idea. You almost need a kid, someone at the high school that would really be into that, and I think you could find them. I think that wouldn't be too difficult to find.
Well, we've made it possible for high schoolers to be members of our committees and boards, and I don't know if we need to do more outreach because we didn't get any applicants this year.
Yeah,
But as you know, we're also looking to put up an indoor recreation center. If you could speak a little bit to perhaps a passion you would have for that kind of work?
Oh, sure.
or-
I mean, I would, totally a passion for it. I think that it would need a lot of funding, of course. I think
state the obvious.
Karen's ice rink is a really good representation of having the private sector work with the city and getting that done. And so I think that is something that should, could also be worked on. I also think that personally, I don't know about the University Mall, but I would imagine we got tons of space there. Why would we have to build another building? Why don't we just put in some of the, indoor
Well, we have a buyer.
recreational center
Yeah.
in there, So I think there are a lot of ways of looking at life and
Yeah.
figuring it out.
They do have a buyer, so.
They did already bought.
They already bought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 60 million,
Yeah.
So so I think it would be great. Also, someone mentioned at the East-West Crossing event that I went to, they mentioned Sears as being a great place for higher grounds. And I thought, wow, that's kind of cool, because when you think of the foot and pedestrian bridge that we want to create, we also want to have something that outside of commuters and recreational, something to drive the kids to as well, like the college kids. You have Trader Joe's, you have but we don't we have a lot that's getting lost, basically. If you look at Williston Road and you look at things, we're starting to, I think we need to start driving people here.
Need some strategies.
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely. And I mean, I think we all want a vibrant community, and I think that's the best part of the Recs and Parks, is that it does bring everyone out and part of the community. But just, in terms of the indoor recreational center, I think there's a lot of ways of doing it for less money, probably, if we talked and, worked with the developer for the University Mall.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
I'm really
Tom.
glad that you applied for this. I think you're great, and I love the idea of working with the mall, the new acquirers, to possibly have a recreation center there, put the post office there, public transportation hub. We need to think malls that is an indoor downtown, and think of malls differently, and having it be a municipal center. And so I think that's a great idea to have on this body. So I'm glad to see you applied.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay.
Thank you very much. You're the grand finale, Cindy. Oh,
You heard from Rick at the last meeting, but
yeah,
he's
we
here.
did. Yes. You feel free to approach. We have reached the end, though, and it's true that we.
I heard my name earlier, and yes, I was here a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to add, I heard Monica say about the diversity. I'd like to be part of the diversity of either the DRB or the planning, but I just wanted to also, after listening, throw my hat in the ring for the Parks and Rec. Haven't researched that committee at all, but I like the TV show and it's pretty funny. So, anyway, that was it. I'll let you get on your business. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. All right. Any more grand finales? Okay. Very
So
good.
no Oliver online? I'm sorry. No Oliver online?
And no
What
Sean
happened
Soper?
to Pearson? Wasn't there?
He's not here, unfortunately.
here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Oliver, okay.
So that takes us to item number 10, which is making this correction to Land Development Regulation Amendment number LDR-22-02. And we are looking at warning a public hearing. And is Paul Connor online for this, or are you
No,
going
I
to be?
told him he did not need to stand
Oh, right.
for
I
this.
was going to say.
So this is purely an administrative error that the content was warned with all the public hearings, but the individual page was not in the packet that you ultimately approved. So it's cleaning that up through the warning of a new public hearing.
All right. Very good.
I move to warn a public hearing on the proposed amendment to Article 11B of the Land Development Regulations as part of LDR 22-02 as approved by the Planning Commission for July 18th, 2022 at 7 p.m.
Second.
Good. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, aye.
All right. That was unanimous. Very good. So we have a date on the 18th with the public. And let's see, turn my page over. Opportunity for the councilors and the public to share information and resources on climate change. And I'm open to having people raise their hands, but I guess we'll say that having conversations with my younger son, he's 21, and I tell him that his generation, needs to speak up and needs to vote and needs to, and he said, we don't have money, right? The people in power are older people that are my age, right, in my 50s and above, and I think that's something that we have to consider too, is how to bring these voices forward who have much more at stake than we do, and who do not have the power that we do. I think that this is when I hear applicants come forward who are young, who do not have all the experience that some of the other applicants do, I really hope that we can acknowledge that the fact that they hope to have many more decades of life on this planet ahead of them, and to pass that on to another generation, that is a unique qualification. So I just wanted to share that with the council and with the public. Every solution that we look at for energy regeneration or generation, it comes with complications. Looking at producing steel and the amount of energy that goes into developing the infrastructure, right, and making what will be life or death potentially decisions. These are ominous decisions that we are facing, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, Tim, that it's nice to hear about bites and bikes when we are hearing a lot of grim information. And yet, I challenge us to keep that focus, and we have, I think, people who are counting on us. And so how can we bring those people on board, and how can we act in their interest as we make, I say, very consequential decisions. I don't have anything more to say than that. I am like some of the applicants here, as someone who do not have the degrees or the expertise in order to be a source of knowledge, but I do have the will. So, and political will is what we need these days. So, I don't know if are there comments, or yes, please, Tim.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out a news item that occurred last week. Was there are some scientific data gathering satellites that are in orbit, and they detected the largest plume of methane ever from a Russian mine that was released last week. So I just want to point out that Russia continues to be a pain in the planet's side for other reasons as well. Also, the Energy Committee has been posting some important information that's developing technologically. There's this competition to generate designs that for heat pumps that work really well in cold weather, and so there's a company that has developed a model that appears to work as intended, and I think they're gonna post something about that. Also, another website that they've shared is the Global Energy Traders. So it's from the World Resource Council, and it tries to measure and show graphs that demonstrate the movement of energy around the world, and that's in flux right now as oil from Russia is being diverted to here, and natural gas is being shut off there, and then and the changes that are trying to be accomplished to have less dependence on oil-based substances versus going to natural or renewable resources, right? So I just wanted to. So if you're on Facebook, check out the Energy Committee's page, because they have a lot of interesting recent information.
Great. I guess the other thing that I had somewhat prepared to speak about tonight is, I was raised in a major metropolitan area, and got a lot of benefits out of being, living close to a big cultural hub. It's very enriching, intellectually and culturally and educationally. A lot of opportunities that come with living in big cities, but there are also a lot of challenges. And when we look at climate change, one of the challenges that big cities are going to be facing, not only sea rise if you're along the coast, but it's also, and Chicago actually, the lake might rise, and that would create havoc with the Chicago River. It's food, and getting food to people, and potentially facing famine. When we see big cities in parts of the world where the heat index is going to make it impossible to be outside longer than a few minutes. Hard to imagine how they're going to be farming land in that climate. And so people might say, well, then we need to take them all into the northern hemisphere. And as someone who cares very deeply about a shared responsibility, I certainly am sensitive to that perspective. And yet, we have to think about sustainability and how we will feed all of those people, in addition to housing, as I know is one of our priorities. So just keeping on our mental landscapes that we need to house, but also to feed, right? When we were students back in elementary school, right? We needed food, water, shelter, and then when we live in the north, clothing. Those are the basic needs for human beings to survive. And that temperate climate that is going to become harder and harder to find is one of those basic needs as well. But we cannot forget the food and water in addition to the shelter. So we will be truly, I think, having to go back to that very elementary education that we all had. We live in a very complex technological society, and we need to take our gear shift and go down a few shifts, a few gears, to look at the basics. And it's I think there are many difficult decisions heading our way. So I just thought I would state that tonight. And it's turning into a metropolis will be creating problems. I think that's something we have to keep in mind. It's not a solution. It's going to be the big cities that are going to have to find ways to feed all of those populations, and it's already started. A lot of big cities have already begun losing population because it is they have reached already a breaking point, and as food production and the transportation of that food, as we know through supply chain issues, even with baby formula and tampons, and with wheat, we're going to be facing some, and corn prices, as we know, biofuels are vying for that corn supply. We're going to be making some mighty important decisions here in the future, and looking at the basic needs is going to, I think, have to be to the front of our minds as we face those big decisions. But we're all here because we want to make those decisions, so that's a positive, right? And if we all are together, that's positive. And I have to say that having also been on vacation and gotten away a little bit and looked at South Burlington from afar, I feel so good about South Burlington. It's a tremendously caring community and generous community and very giving community. And we have a lot to give, and I feel very blessed is the word to be living right here in South Burlington. So, anybody like to say anything else? Since Helen asked me to chair, I said I better think ahead about what I want to say for this moment, because usually Helen is very eloquent at this moment.
Nope, I'm ready to keep moving on.
Very good. All right. So we have number 12, reports from councilors on committee assignments. So I think that, Helen, you had said that you had attended an task force meeting, climate action task force.
I did. It was really pretty fascinating because the committee we've kind of finalized the language and the pathways and the actions that will be shared in our report. But I think I've mentioned in the past that the conversation was really about requesting the council to move forward a little bit more quickly before the entire report is completed. And there is a real interest to put in place, ask the council to put in place an ordinance similar to Burlington around new construction having 85% of the heating in new construction be fossil free. And the process to do that, we got a report about the feasibility, and the lawyer, basically counsel for the city, basically said, yes, you have the authority to do that, but it's difficult, it's hard, and it might require a charter change. And then we talked about how to get a charter change, and I think we ended up with tasking, or actually Andrew Chalnick offered to put together a set of what's the word when you do like a presentation for the council about why this is important and why it's needed to kind of move forward. So, but it was just a pretty interesting conversation. And so I think the task force is working very well and moving ahead. And they are also going to make a bit of a presentation that you'll all hear at the steering committee to try to engage the school department and the school board with, so what do they see their role? What could they be doing? What are they doing around climate change and conservation and efficiencies? So you'll get a taste of it Wednesday. And then I can't remember when we decided, Andrew, and we wanted Andrew to put together this slide deck to review at our next meeting in anticipation of coming before the city council earlier than when the entire report is completed.
Great. Great. So more to come soon then. Yeah. GMT, how are we doing?
Pretty consequential meeting tomorrow. It's been reported in the news, so I can share it here, that John Moore, the executive director, has tendered his resignation. He's going to work with GMTA for 60 more days, but we're now tasked with finding probably an interim executive director for a year and then a permanent, given the difficulty in hiring executive leadership, not just here, but everywhere. So if you know of someone who's interested in running the largest public transportation agency in Vermont, let me know.
Anything?
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Me too.
They're difficult. This is I mean, you haven't been on the board very long, and this is what, number 2?
No, I wasn't around for the first
time. Tom was.
Yeah, I went through a couple.
For the first one.
Oh, you went through a couple, but still, that's disappointing, I guess, and very challenging.
Yes.
So.
If I may.
Yes, please.
I just want to say it's great that he's giving 60 days. I did a coffee with John Moore. He's been a great asset to Green Mountain Transit, and that's giving the board ample time to find somebody. So there were other transitions that didn't have those 60 days. I hope you appreciate them.
Thank you very much. I do.
Yeah. So.
Sure. Other members who have met with committees outside of the council? Okay. Well, thank you, Helen, for giving your report. Let us continue on with other business. I didn't hear any at the beginning of the meeting. Yes, Tim.
A constituent contacted, I think, us, so I'll just bring it up, that they feel like there should be a left turn arrow signal on Market Street, wanting to turn left onto Dorset Street, but that would probably be reserved for possibility when all of those signals are redone. Currently, when you go and you sit for a long time because there's just like I don't know what it's on with detectors or timers or whatever, but there could be no traffic and you sit forever. Then you get a green light, but it's both directions, and the way the roads are misaligned, it's a little confusing. You're not quite sure if someone's going to come at you or not. So it's just a consideration for probably next year when I don't know when they're going to start that process of re-engineering and designing all those traffic signals, but it's if it's a possibility to look at that. I mean, the amazing thing is that the Kimball Avenue and Gregory Drive Community Drive light, this new signal that was put in last year, when I ride my bicycle from Williston to that left-hand turn lane to go onto Community Drive, I get there and I arrive there and I think that if I'm the only one there, that it's never going to change for me. But there's a camera or some sort of detector device, and it's not just a coil on the road. It stops the oncoming traffic and lets me go as a bicycle. You know, I don't have that much metal, but I have some sort of a heat presence, I guess, that there's a detector for that. So I'm really grateful. So, I mean, there is a lot of new technology out there for, you know, sensing vehicles that are queued up waiting to go. And so anyway.
I think a similar situation is occurring at Tilly Drive. You know, the lights, because I go up and down 116 a lot, and when Tilly isn't, you know, when the offices aren't open, there's very few cars that come through, but you have that development, and when a car comes up the hill, the light changes. It senses it, and they're able to, very short time, but they're able to make a turn onto Heinsberg Road. Otherwise, at night, it's just blinking yellow in the north-south direction and red. So they really work pretty well, and I think that light seems to be addressing the issues at that corner.
I agree.
So I also got an email from a gal who's very concerned about the Ruth Street cut through that kind of goes around the intersection of Heinsberg Road and Williston Road, and that it's big trucks are using it now. And
big trucks.
I thought, yeah, that's what she said. I thought she was going to come tonight, which is what I suggested, that she speak at the beginning, and then we can, you know, get some input from at another meeting. Jesse, you got the letter as well, right?
Yeah, I think you forwarded to me.
Or I forwarded it to you. So maybe at some point we can have whomever needs to look at it, and we can have some discussion, because that is another difficult intersection. I guess they all are in South Burlington, huh? A lot of traffic.
Where's the cut through?
Ruth Street.
Yeah, it's right behind Gracie's.
Oh.
There are some
Yeah, kind
homes.
of pokes around.
Oh, is somebody
I
using
feel like it's part of my neighborhood, so I ride my bike.
Is
down
that on Waze? Are people using Waze to
Yeah,
Waze
to
lead them there?
avoid having to
It's an
wait at the
app for
light.
their phone.
Waze leads people into the
Waze
water.
will send people to they send them up to the notch probably too.
Yeah, seriously.
$2,800, $2,400.
$2,500. I've just been there.
Yeah.
$2,500.
That's just the fine. The tow bill cost you 10.
Two other things.
Okay.
Yes, and Tom.
I want to pick up on something Councilor Emery raised at the beginning of the meeting, so I think it's still germane, and again, not calling for action on it, but being Juneteenth, the city of Essex Junction, I think 2 years ago, recognized it as a city-paid holiday, and I know we need to be frugal with the taxpayer dollars, but I think it's also relevant to recognize that the federal government recognizes this holiday, and next year, Juneteenth will be on a Monday, and I think our employees are very deserving of a day off, and also a day of reflection on such an important event. So as one councilor looking a year out ahead, I would welcome a conversation about having the city of South Burlington recognize Juneteenth as a municipal holiday. I have one other item, and I don't know if the city manager would be comfortable speaking to it, but I did send her a text, and I'd just love an update. But the sign, the very important city sign on the corner of Spear in Maine, or Route 2 or Williston Road, I don't know which one it is right there, but it's a city of South Burlington sign with UVM directors. It's been all banged up for like 2 months. Do you have any update on that you'd be willing to offer?
The city of Burlington sign.
Is it? But it's in our right.
But it's in our right of way. Tom, I know Tom reached out to UVM and the city of Burlington on it. I haven't heard any updates from him since then, so I will follow up on it.
Yeah. Speaking of
please.
Speaking of signs, and I know I talked with Holly a little bit about some of the signs have been tagged in the parks, and I know they're working on it. It's very disturbing that people are tagging our signs. But there's a sign that hasn't been tagged, but does look in disrepair, which is right on Shelburne Road, in front of Bartlett Brook, and it's a Rotary sponsored sign. I don't know if you know the background. I certainly don't know the history. Could use some TLC.
Is it ours?
But it's welcome to South Burlington, and there's a Rotary thing right below it. It just is there seems to be a way that, and if we need volunteers, I'm happy to volunteer to fix it. But
So it's a City of South Burlington sign
says,
with our branding.
welcome to the city of South Burlington
And
with
then has
our
Rotary
old
underneath.
branding. And then underneath it says sponsored by Rotary. Rotary meets at whatever day. So I don't know if it's Rotary's sign and they're responsible for it. If it's a city sign, we're responsible for it. But either way, a little paint and some scrubbing could make the entrance to our city coming from Shelburne look a whole lot better. And I'm willing to volunteer or raise whatever to get it done. But every time I drive by it, I'm like, oh, that looks awful. And then on the positive note, answering a question from a constituent, yes, confirmed by Holly Reese, there will be a portalet at I can't pronounce this, Szymanski Park later this week. So relief is in sight for those that need a portalet while they play tennis. Or not while they play tennis, but.
And how about the trees? I saw over $35,000 went to trees. Is that going to happen sometime then, that we've paid the bill now that we've signed the
So we are.
disbursement?
Are you talking about the ash tree replacement?
Yeah, I believe so. That's how I understood the $35,000 charge.
That's the FY22 contract.
Yep.
That the work they have already done throughout this year that we are completing payment of. And then the entire FY23 contract will be solely on tree replacement as well. So it's paying for work we've already done.
Okay, so not future trees, so, but that have already been planted.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So,
We have more to come starting July 1st with FY23 and another contract with them.
but what I understood is that the trees that are going to be felled have already been,
There will be no more
Right.
ash tree cutting through FY23. It's only replanting.
okay, very good.
One last thing. So if you're driving down Heinsberg Road, you can't miss the fact that the sewage pump house, which is the red brick building at the bend in the road, is being transformed. And
Yes.
it was primed a week ago Friday, had a second priming on the following Sunday, and then it received sketch marks for the images, and then there was some fill work done yesterday. It was Father's Day, so I had to help out. And and just to point out that
Thank you, Dad.
my Wagner sprayer was in the basement for 22 years. I pulled it out and it still worked. So so the work is ongoing, and it's a real pleasure working right next to the sewage pump building. And
I'll bet.
if you didn't know, there's a
Oh,
trap door in that building, and it drops down like 40 to 50 feet, and the fire department often goes in there and they practice rappelling.
Oh.
And I feel bad for them for that. But
I want to get Councilor Code or Councilor Barrett with his Wagner and me and all the other councilors to do some vigilante cleanup of the Pizza Hut too on Shelburne Road.
yes.
So can we just go and paint it and just?
I would love to discuss that, but I can't because I think we're involved in a legal situation with
Lovely.
the owner of that property.
Oh, all right.
Also, if you have not seen the art project that's on display at the library that features that building, it's worth us going to see.
Out here or inside the library?
Inside the library, up against the boardroom wall.
Oh.
There's an artist who's done a whole placemaking exhibit on kind of the in-between spaces in South Burlington, and the Pizza Hut is one of them that's highly featured. It's
Interesting.
really quite fascinating.
All right.
Cool. I'll have to visit.
Yeah, me too.
Hey.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of other business. Now we are going to be, if everybody's agreeable to it, enter executive session for the purposes of considering the applications.
And I have a motion for that.
Very good.
I
Go
move
for
that the council enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing evaluation and appointment of applicants to the South Burlington City Committees and Boards, inviting in Andrew Bullock and Jesse Baker.
Is there a second?
Second.
Very good. And we will not be returning tonight. That will be at a future date, Sue. So you can go home. I believe we're going to vote on it. Right, don't go home yet. Right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. and moved, we don't adjourn till after. So you are now free to go home.